Being 6:30, I will call the August 17th Select Board meeting to order. First in order, let's take attendance. Mr. Delaney.
Here.
Mr. Solacey.
Here.
Ms. Bellotta.
Here.
Ms. Harrison. Not here. Mr. Round is here.
Ann, do you see?
He's here?
I see an Ann on the Zoom participants, but I don't know if that's Ann.
Okay. Right.
Can folks on Zoom hear us on the meeting? If you can, just raise your.
Yes,
Thank you.
Okay.
And raised her hand.
Ann, is that you?
yeah,
Eric?
that's me.
Ah, there she is. Maybe far away. Okay. We will record you as here. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
All right. Very good. All right. So this meeting is being recorded, and as a convenience to the public, it's available electronically via Zoom. And in the event of a technology failure, the meeting will continue in person. At this point, all who can rise, please do so, and we will do the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. First order of business, public comment on non-agenda items.
Anyone on Zoom?
Okay. All right, moving along. Number 3, chair's report, no chairman's report this evening. Action items on our action task list. My fellow board members, anything to comment on the list as it stands now?
Good.
Okay, we've only got one item that is coming off for tonight. All right. That's great. We have several public hearings this evening. And they're all, we'll take them one at a time here. And the first one is going to be proposed by Mr. Delaney.
Move the select board open the public hearing on National Grid petition WR 31337132 to install underground conduits and cables on Masconomo Street.
Second.
A vote, Mr. Delaney,
Yes.
Solacey,
Yes.
Ms. Harrison,
yes,
Ms. Bellotta,
Yes.
and Mr. Round says yes. Okay, so National Grid.
Yep.
Okay,
We have a work request for a new service going at 9 Masconomo Street. That's gonna be new construction too. We just demoed the existing house. And we want to take the opportunity to install a new transformer on his property and feed the secondaries on Masconomo and a portion of Beach Street from his property. Currently, there's a transformer in the manhole at the intersection of Beach and Masconomo that we want to get out of there because it's leaking, and that's not really our standard to have them in manholes anymore. So it's a good opportunity to benefit the customer and improve our infrastructure.
okay. Questions from the board?
I have one. Can you learn our lesson? Will there be any disruption to service to the town?
Yeah, there will be, I think it was approximately a 30 to 40 customer outage.
And how long a period of time will that be?
During construction, they will have to disconnect the transformer and then remove it and then allow Clean Harbors to come and clean the manhole. So I think that's like around 4 to
Okay, so let's figure it.
48 hours.
Is this all residential or will it affect any of the commercial?
This is all residential.
Down on Beach Street.
Mhm.
And you're gonna give all the people notice ahead of time.
Yep, there's an outage list already created for this work.
And the criteria still exist over 80, over 90 degrees, you don't do the work?
I believe so, yes.
Is it daytime work or nighttime work?
I believe daytime.
In how many days, or is this
Um,
be done in one day, or?
I think this, for the total amount of the civil work, would probably take 2 days with the road open, but only a portion of that would be an outage. Cause they're gonna be able to do some of the, like up to the manhole first.
So the outage will only be 1 day.
Yeah, and not a full day.
Any time frame for this? This is gonna be in the summertime, which is fast closing, or is this some point in the future beyond that?
I believe the customer is more or less prepared to go, so once the petition passes, it should be scheduled within the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Which is in
Yeah, that's
late
okay.
September.
So what, you were asking about the temperature, you don't wanna be,
I'm worried about it in October at this point.
well, no, I mean, you can have some hot days.
I know,
I mean,
but that's, I think that's National Grid, is that criteria anyway.
So what is, could we get some clarification on what the criteria is, like,
Honestly, I'm not sure about that. But I can follow up after the fact.
I mean, an outage is a pretty serious, that's a pretty significant outage, so you don't
We've
want.
received it, we've received it in the past. I don't remember exactly what the
Okay.
criteria is, but if the forecast looks like it's gonna be extremely hot weather, they'll postpone the work.
That's the definition of extremely hot weather.
90 degrees.
It was, I
90.
wanna say it was mid-90s or more, but, or 90s.
Yeah, but I would think that at this point,
Even 85 is pretty nasty, not AC or fans. I
well,
mean,
I'm just thinking about the issue we had earlier in the summer,
Mhm.
trying to avoid that again.
Okay. Other questions on this project?
Well, I guess my question is, can we establish a temperature that we're comfortable with, or do we have to adhere to the National Grid guidelines? Why can't we establish a threshold that we're comfortable with for our residents?
Well, maybe we should get an actual,
That's what I'm saying.
number of what it is and
Yeah.
look at it.
What do you mean, get an actual,
I read.
Whatever their parameters are, we
right,
should.
which you don't know, but you know they
Exactly,
exist.
I'm not comfortable just saying you can shut down someone's electricity service for 4 to 8 hours.
All right.
when there's
Well, we can
potential-
establish a number and make it
Yeah.
pending whatever they say, and if their number is higher than that,
That's what I'm asking, do we wanna set some sort of a threshold, and if their
above that.
standard is above that, then it's no until they come back and make sure everybody's been. If every single residence that, I mean, there's 30 to 40 people. I mean.
Yeah.
I guess I'm not, if the threshold is 95 or 90, I'm not comfortable with that number. I'll just say that right now.
Mhm.
That seems excessive. You gotta be able to have fans or AC working if it's 85, or 82, so.
Extreme weather, inclement or extreme weather is defined as 90 degrees. Above 90 degrees or below 20 degrees, or unexpected events affecting the system. I think that's fairly standard.
Yeah.
It's right at the edge for me.
It's right at the edge.
20 is pretty low.
Yeah, I'm not so much.
I have both edges, but. Okay. So, are we okay with that?
I mean, it sounds like it's gonna be September.
Yes, it sounds like it's certainly September.
Yeah, 6, 8 weeks.
Yeah, maybe even October.
I don't think we're gonna have an issue.
Yeah. Okay, further discussion on this? Or from the public, Tony?
No one online.
Okay, do we close the hearing and then vote, or do we vote and then close the
Yeah,
hearing?
we're gonna close the hearing.
Evidentiary portion of the hearing.
I'll first.
Yeah, and you don't have this list, so,
I move that the select board close the evidentiary portion of the hearing.
Second,
okay. Mr. Delaney,
yes.
Mr. Solacey,
Yes.
Ms. Harrison,
Yes,
Ms. Bellotta,
Yes,
Mr. Round says yes. Okay. So, now I'll entertain a motion.
I move that the select board approve National Grid petition WR 313373132 to install underground conduits and cables on Masconomo Street as shown in the provided plan.
Second,
Ms. Bellotta,
Yes,
Ms. Harrison,
yes,
Mr. Solacey,
Yes.
Mr. Delaney,
yes.
and Mr. Round says yes. Okay, great.
Now you
One
close-
down,
Now you close the public hearing.
I move that the board close the public hearing.
second,
all right. Mr. Delaney,
Yes,
Mr. Solacey,
Yes.
Ms. Harrison,
yes.
Bellotta,
yes.
Mr. Round says yes. Okay, great. We're done?
With that one.
This
One
one.
down, one down.
can we just leave the public hearing open and just do these, or no? We
I
have
asked
to
that.
open it and close it every time?
I think we probably wouldn't have had any issue if we had opened a public hearing for both 313373132 and 3133614. And then just did the evidentiary portions separately.
Yeah.
But because this is required by statute, we're just playing it safe and opening separate public hearings, which were noticed separately as well.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So we're on to the next one, which is Atwater Ave, which is me. I move that the select board open the public hearing on the National Grid and Verizon New England Inc. petition WR number 3133641 for the installation of conduits and 2 joint-owned poles on Atwater Ave.
Second,
Ms. Bellotta,
yes.
Ms. Harrison,
Yes,
okay. Mr. Solacey,
Yes.
Mr. Delaney,
Yes,
Mr. Round, yes. Okay. You're up again.
This is for the cell signaling technology building going in on Atwater Ave. I think they're getting ready to start construction because the poles are gonna be for their service. They want to be able to mark out what they're gonna be doing and
I don't think so.
the
Not sure.
like a
Here,
prep stage of work,
okay, the light's on.
large service that's gonna be going in.
is this for construction or is this a permanent service?
This is gonna be their permanent service, but I know it's part of a larger project to distribute the load on our feeders because they have a large load coming in.
Other questions?
I'm good.
Anywhere, Tony?
Nope.
Okay. All right,
Move the select board close the evidentiary portion of the hearing.
Second.
Mr. Delaney,
Yes,
Ms. Solacey.
Yes.
Ms. Harrison,
Yes,
Bellotta,
Yes.
Mr. Round says yes. Okay. Who's next?
I move that the select board approve National Grid and Verizon New England Inc. petition WR 3133641 for the installation of conduits and 2 joint-owned pole on Atwater Avenue as shown on the provided plans.
Ms. Bellotta,
Yes,
Ms. Harrison,
yes,
Mr. Solacey,
Yes.
and Mr. Delaney,
yes,
Mr. Round says yes.
I move that the board close the public hearing.
second,
Mr. Delaney,
yes,
Ms. Solacey.
Yes.
Ms. Harrison,
yes,
Ms. Bellotta,
Yes,
opposed, yes. Okay. Thank you now. Great. You're set.
Sorry. No, this is. Just don't worry about it.
All right. All right, the third public hearing.
We all set?
Yeah,
I move the select board open a public hearing on the application to transfer the all alcohol license at 26 Central Street.
Second,
okay. Mr. Delaney,
yes.
Ms. Solacey,
Yes.
Ms. Harrison,
Yes,
Ms. Bellotta,
Yes,
Mr. Round, yes. Okay, 26 Central.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we
Thank
can.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. My name is Dennis Quilty, Quilty. I'm an attorney representing the proposed licensee, which is 26 Central Restaurant LLC, DBA Sophia's, at the same location. This is the former Boo Bird Restaurant at 26 Central. The situation here is that the license has, ceased to do business. The owner of the property would like to have a new tenant, obviously. The new tenant, proposed new tenant is 26 Central Restaurant LLC. With us here tonight, David Gallagher, who's an LLC manager and is the proposed manager of record, and Nelson Sanchez Jr., who's an LLC member. So those two comprise 100% of the holdings. They propose to operate a new restaurant, DBA Sophia's, within the exact same space. They will do some upgrading internally, paint, paper, wallpaper, fix up the space to run the same style of restaurant, if you will, a full service American restaurant and bar, the same size, if you will, same number of exits, entrances, square footage, et cetera, as existed in the previous entity. So this is literally to repopulate the space, which again has been a restaurant, to place in a new restaurant, to enliven the street, the area, et cetera. And the individuals, Mr. Gallagher, who's the proposed manager of the record, is the owner of Oliva Enoteca Wine Shop. I'm sure known to folks. He's a U.S. citizen, a Mass resident, has experience in the sale and service of alcohol. There is also a pledge back to the property owner for a loan, which was funded by the landlord in the amount of $25,000. So we are seeking a pledge back to the landlord entity in that amount as part of the application as well. I think with that, we will, sit back and take your questions.
Questions from the board?
just a question on timing. Do we have a sense as to when this establishment might open?
It's David or Nelson, can one of you guys take that? I'm not 100% certain.
Yeah, we're saying another 6 weeks, they'll do painting, fixing, so 6 weeks time frame.
Sometime in the fall.
Yes.
This is direct from National Grid.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, great. Then I move the board close the evidentiary portion of the hearing.
Second,
Okay, Jeff,
yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Ann,
yes,
Kathy,
Yes,
and John says yes.
I move the select board approve the transfer of the all alcohol license at 26 Central Street to 26 Central Restaurant LLC.
Second.
Kathy,
yes,
Ann,
yes,
Brian,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
and John says yes. Okay.
I move the board close the public hearing.
Second,
Right. Jeff,
yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Ann,
yes.
Kathy,
yes.
and John says yes. Okay.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, that's it for public hearings. Now we're on to a presentation on Ocean Street and Fussin O'Neill. Somebody is from here or they are online. Tony, do you know?
Yeah, Tony, we're here. If I could just kindly request sharing privileges.
You folks may want to.
Screen.
Yeah, that's the one. Pivot.
We need more chairs.
All right.
All right, go ahead, Alex.
Members of the board. Okay, it's showing up okay on your end. Great. Well, thank you very much, members of the board, members of the community, for having us back to report out on the Ocean Street Community Visioning Workshop, including a brief report out on our workshop documentation and preliminary concept plan. I know I see several familiar faces in the crowd and some online as well, but just to introduce myself again, my name is Alex Maxwell. I'm a principal planner with Fussin O'Neill. I'm joined this evening by Andy Bone. Andy, you want to say a quick hello and introduce yourself?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Alex. Nice to see some familiar faces. My name is Andy Bone. I'm a principal landscape architect and discipline lead at Fussin O'Neill.
Thanks, Andy. So this evening, we, for the benefit of those who haven't been tracking the project as closely, we'll provide a brief summary about this project and then highlight a couple of the activities that predated the community planning workshop that happened over the summer, including a look at our coastal vulnerability assessment and coastal resource delineation. And then very quickly, we'll get into reviewing the planning workshop and some of the potential actions identified as part of the preliminary concept plan, and then make some notes on pathway to implementation. It's worth mentioning at the outset of this brief presentation that this entire workshop documentation package will be published online, as have the sketch alternatives and some of the workshop materials already, both on the Coastal Vulnerability Action Plan website and the town's website as well. So while some of these materials we'll flip through quickly, there will be an opportunity to review them in more detail as they get published this week. So just very briefly about the project. So we were contacted as a firm here to help address some of the known issues at Ocean Street, which we know regularly overtops during larger flooding events and really poses a long-term maintenance issue and concerns over long-term access. And under the remit of this project, we were tasked with really working towards three different goals. The first of which was to conduct an updated vulnerability assessment to not only look at existing flooding conditions at the site, but also future projected coastal flood risk. As a complement to that, and will be the focus of tonight's presentation, we also facilitated a proactive public workshop to really bring that information in from the coastal vulnerability assessment, and then working alongside members of the community, work to identify potential adaptation resilience strategies to improve the long-term resilience of Ocean Street, and then realize this in the form of a preliminary concept plan, which ultimately has the aim of helping to position the town to pursue funding to implement different actions included in the preliminary concept plan. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So that's a little bit about the overall project, but the project really started with trying to get a better handle on the scientific underpinnings of the area, what is known about flooding in the area, as well as coastal resources and potential areas of environmental impact. And to do that, we conducted a rigorous climate and coastal hazard assessment and vulnerability assessment. Over the course of the year, we deployed long-term tide gauges to help us localize the results of the Massachusetts Coast Flood Risk Model, or the MCFRM, really to look at the effects of the existing culvert along Ocean Street, connecting both ends from White Beach to Black Beach and really look at the effects of that on attenuating flows, mostly tidal flows in and out of the area, as well as helping us refine the probabilistic flood models to look at future projected conditions. And as a result of this modeling, what became clear is larger present day coastal storm events, as many in the town already know, are already known to overtop the road. That is projected to only increase in frequency as you move outward in time and look at future forecasted planning horizons. But really, when it comes to more daily tidal flooding, or what we might term as nuisance flooding, resulting from mean high water elevations, it's not expected that the roadway segment pictured here along White and Black Beach would overtop with daily frequency until about the 2070 planning horizon, and in the area immediately proximate to the culvert, connecting the marsh to the ocean there. As part of this vulnerability assessment, we also took a look at existing plans and prior studies, and then conducted a shoreline change analysis, looking at how the beaches in particular have changed over time. And while over the past century, the shoreline has remained relatively stable, more recent data shows average erosion rates just under a foot a year in both Black Beach and White Beach, respectively there, which highlighted for us some potential opportunities for beach nourishment moving forward, where the beaches aren't naturally nourishing themselves. As part of this vulnerability assessment, we also conducted a coastal resource delineation, which identified both Black and White Beach as barrier beaches, surrounded by coastal dunes, salt marshes, bordering wetlands, and coastal bank, which is an important step in this process because it helps understand where you have potential limitations from a regulatory standpoint and being able to implement certain actions because they carry with them potential environmental impacts that might not be permissible under existing codes and regulations. So this was some of the underlying work that was done and fed directly into the community planning workshop and design charrette, which I will let Andy briefly talk about here.
Thank you, Alex. So as Alex had mentioned, we understood the science, we understood what was happening, we understood what the projections looked like, and we utilized all the information that we had in hand, reports that were given to us prior to the workshop, to really understand kind of the work that had already been done to really build off of that, and really have a proactive community-led workshop and really explore some of the alternatives that could be done in this area, understanding there's some primary concerns related to the coastal flooding, environmental impacts for improving the resilience. As Alex had mentioned, when a big storm does come, what are the challenges the community has for repairing, rebuilding, restoring access to this area? And really, we use this as an opportunity to really think big and think outside of the box, and let's explore what that could look like on the ground. So really using that as an opportunity to kind of work with the community to explore some of the ideas, to see what hits and see what doesn't. And this was a process that was really engaging as far as being able to understand a series of different alternatives that ultimately has kind of led us to where we are today. You can go to the next one, Alex. So what we heard during this workshop was a lot about access and parking, some of the road closure issues, but there were a lot of kind of tertiary components to that as well. Some of the boat launch, utilizing an opportunity for the community to use a boat launch, but also for emergency response as well, and how that gets used. The salt marsh in its health and water quality issues. The idea of a shared use path and really making it a safe place for people to walk in a very, very tight corridor as it is today. Understanding some of the issues related to the seawall and maybe its structural integrity. There's been a lot of repairs and fixes behind it. So those are some of the kind of bigger things that came to the top of the list as we started to really walk through that. So as we mentioned, we did some initial sketches, and this gives us the ability to explore these things on paper. So we explored what different parking configurations could look like from the existing parking as it is today, which is really it's not formalized as far as parking spaces and how to park. To understanding where beach access points could be, understanding that the beach erosion is something that kind of came to the top of the list as well. As far as access, having one-way traffic to going to keeping it as a two-way traffic, potentially even exploring the optionality of going to a dead end situation on both sides, but still allowing pedestrian and shared use and emergency traffic to kind of travel the whole distance. These were all things that, we got an opportunity to explore and hear from the community. And it's intended to really make people engage with it. Like, I really like that. That's something that we really can't live with. So that's a really important part of this process. So kind of on the final day, we kind of worked through those different optionalities, formalized them a little bit, tweaked them based on what we had heard so far. We did some 3D modeling to really show people how this could look and function, specifically from the White Beach side, and really gather that information and that feedback, which ultimately leads to a culmination into kind of the preliminary concept design. So what came to the top of the list was the idea of maintaining vehicle access throughout the street, really looking at trying to provide an opportunity for a shared use or a dedicated pathway as an option. Beach access obviously is one of those things that came up as making sure that was there. The seawall was something we heard in a lot of conversations that we had. Understanding that, the erosion from the beach, and is there an opportunity to do some maybe some revetment restoration and sand dune treatment that would help protect some of these assets in the infrastructure along the way. Obviously, the the culvert that really helps drain that salt marsh being a key component of that, and is that a restriction? And really trying to get as much information as we can. And then ultimately looking at parking and how could parking really be integrated into the site to provide some efficiencies, to potentially still have all those elements, that being a shared use path, parking, vehicular access. And I'll just pause there. Alex, is there anything on that?
I think that's a good overview of some of those areas identified in consultation with members of the community as potential improvements. And I think what you'll highlight this next section here is how those translated then to more formalized preliminary concept plan.
Perfect. So yeah, the last graphic was more of a bubble diagram of kind of the themes that we heard that were really important to the community. And then we used all that to come back and kind of work through this preliminary concept plan. And I'll just kind of go through some of these potential actions. So the potential of piloting a one-way drive aisle along Ocean Street. This is something that still leaves a lot of flexibility for the community. It doesn't change the paving. It's just painting and markings on the paint around the road. So it still provides functionality and some future decision making for the community. Maybe one way just doesn't work and people really don't like it. You can always go back to two-way with that. You haven't undone anything. So that's one thing. Really trying to find opportunities to incorporate the shared use path, the beach nourishment program, and adding some more formalized beach access points, those being for pedestrians, but also for the boat launch. As well as as I mentioned, the emergency vehicle and response opportunities. We started to explore the idea of kind of restoring the revetments, specifically along White Beach, but also parts of Black Beach as well. But creating kind of a sacrificial dune over the top that really helps kind of with that storm surge. But understanding that there's some long-term maintenance associated with that, and what does that look like for the community is something that's really important to understand. We explored some of the designated kind of head-in parking situations, which really helps formalize that parking and ensures that you could park anywhere between, 25 and I think it's 25 to 38 spots, depending on what angle you choose for that situation. Um, really conducting the structural assessment and repair of the seawall is something that came up over and over again. And really making sure that the understanding of what kind of condition is that seawall in today and what is the logical next steps for making those improvements to the seawall, and understanding real costs associated with that as well as studying kind of the culvert from a H&H perspective and really understanding how it's potentially constricting the movement of water in and out of the marsh behind it are kind of the key components to that. And I guess the last thing that did come up during the workshop is collaborating with the Manchester Conservation Trust to potentially establish a marsh overlook with maybe some short-term parking, but really looking as an opportunity to kind of bring in a secondary project partner and as a way to utilize some of that space as well. And then this is more of a zoomed in area specifically for White Beach. So really looking at how this configuration could work. Again, one of the things that we heard from the community was a lot of different things. And I think our ultimate takeaway was we really wanted to provide the community with a lot of flexibility for how this plays out moving forward. So making a decision now, understanding that you may need to make a different decision in 10 years or 15 years or 50 years from now, but really working kind of within the fabric of what you have today, understanding the costs associated with that while trying to maximize kind of the resilience and protection of these resources as well. So looking at that parking, looking at the sacrificial dune opportunities, looking at the boat launch opportunities, really trying to get an understanding of the structural seawall and what could be done to make those improvements in there. Alex, was there anything I missed on that?
No, I think that was a helpful overview. Thanks, Andy. And I think the ultimate idea behind putting this down on paper is it's easier to then socialize these ideas more broadly. Obviously, we were only at the workshop and the pinup for a matter of a couple of days, but these types of graphics and others that we'll show later in this workshop documentation package really help spark additional conversations, not only with members of the community, but ultimately when approaching funding agencies and even regulatory agencies, allow them to help visualize, some of the ideas that you might be considering implementing over time, so that can better guide you in terms of permitting pathways, as well as potential funding mechanisms. So what I'll just cover briefly as a complement to what Andy kindly overviewed by way of some of the graphics is some of the implementation notes that we are complementing those graphics with in the context of this workshop documentation package. So along with those graphics, we have several pages just highlighting the need to consider these potential actions, and this preliminary concept plan is really part of a phased program that can be led by the town, obviously in coordination with other town departments, but as well as public landowners and other community stakeholders. And so what we highlighted as this part of the workshop documentation package is the need to consider some of the unique implementation challenges that you do have when considering that spectrum of potential alternatives. Andy highlighted several times the very limited right-of-way, which is really hemmed in part by some of the coastal resources that were foregrounded in the vulnerability assessment, and the need to consider really these actions as being interdependent, particularly those around some of the more needed near-term structural assessments and limited flow studies around the culvert. Those would need to come before ultimately the structural repairs that may be needed, any potential culvert upgrades, and any reconfigurations to the roadway. One other note that we have in this section of the documentation is some notes on regulatory considerations as well. Depending on the actions that might be carried forward for implementation, there are a variety of applicable wetland regulations and other environmental reviews that may be needed. But the biggest component, or the biggest takeaway, if you will, on regulatory considerations, and this is actually baked into some of the phased programming that we recommend in the subsequent pages here, which I'll show in a minute, is early agency coordination, actually hosting pre-application meeting with regulators before any actions are taken forward, so that you can make them aware of what the town has in mind for future improvements, and can work with them as a partner in seeing these things through. So what we have over the next several pages of the workshop documentation package is what I was mentioning before, kind of mapping those actions to 3 different types of actions that can be implemented over time. So we have kind of near term, what we call enabling actions. Those could also be referred to as a kind of low hanging fruit types of actions that then unlock or enable midterm and longer term actions. Those midterm actions, again, are interdependent on some of the near term. So we kind of frame those as contingent actions, and then longer term actions are more of those transformative actions, be it in the form of implementing a long-term beach nourishment program or eventual culvert upgrade. Those are what are shown on these tabular summary of the potential phases. But really, it starts with, just to highlight a few ideas, like conducting the structural assessment early, to look at the existing seawall, but also the sections of the revetment that are potentially in need of repair. Look for evidence of additional undermining, and really identify specific needs for long-term repairs and maintenance over time, and then be able to map those to grants, which can help with the actual implementation of fixes, as well as potentially funding some of the initial studies as well. I mentioned before the importance of early coordination meeting with regulators. What's now helpful to have in hand as an outcome of this workshop documentation package is these initial ideas and thoughts behind how to improve Ocean Street. These are things you can actually go to the regulators and speak to with more fluency, to be able to show more of what you're talking about when thinking about potential beach nourishment improvements, or sacrificial dunes, or formalizing the parking along with roadway improvements. These really help facilitate those types of conversations, and it's really a needed step before taking it too far to more of the midterm or contingent actions. Andy already touched a little bit on the piloting of the one-way drive aisle. That's something that can be done over the next few years. Piloted for 6 months. It's an opportunity to collect feedback and decide if that's a direction in which the community would like to head. Moving to some of the midterm actions, equipped with some of the information and outcome and feedback from some of the near-term actions, you can then decide where to implement more targeted repairs on stabilization measures for both the seawall and existing revetments. That's where, if you make a decision around how to handle the drive aisle on Ocean Street, you can make decisions around establishing a more dedicated shared use path, and decide where that should be located along the ocean side, or more interior towards the marsh side. It's also an opportunity that in the midterm, if you look at restoring some of the existing pavement areas where it's needed, maybe tying those in to established small boat launches, which Andy mentioned should also be able to accommodate not only some of the smaller paddle craft, but also emergency vehicles and vessels. And then looking longer term, this is where perhaps following longer term pavement schedules. If you already address some of the near-term issues with pavement condition, could look at constructing a more resilient, reinforced concrete segments of Ocean Street that can better withstand some of the wave overtopping that's modeled to only increase in frequency. Longer term, it could be also that opportunity where, if you make investments in improving some of the pavement sections, those can also be tied into upgrades to the existing culvert or crossing, and perhaps tying that into elevations, which could avoid some of that daily tidal flooding or nuisance flooding that's projected to occur out in the 2070 planning horizon. And then, as Andy mentioned, some of the longer term beach nourishment programs, which could help address some of the erosion along with some of what you might get back in terms of sediment feeding from the marsh if you make a culvert upgrade in the long term. So we just mapped some of those out as part of this pathway to implementation section of the workshop documentation. Along with that, it's all well and good to have a bunch of good ideas, have an initial idea of phasing of the work and certain contingencies, but ultimately it comes down to how to fund this stuff. So what we also developed as part of the workshop documentation package is a list of different funding mechanisms that can map to the different types of actions or potential actions included in that preliminary concept plan. What we've done to kind of make it easy to translate the actions to different funding mechanisms is bidden them all by different codes. So we have, actions around planning, assessment, design, and permitting falling under Code A, roadway operations, parking, and interim pavement improvements under Code B, and so forth. And then what we have on the subsequent slides or pages of the package are then funding mechanisms at the local, state, and federal national level that can map to those different action types. So we've called out, where perhaps capital appropriations could help enable some of the actions relative to state grants, which I know the town is quite familiar with in the form of CZM coastal resilience grants or MVP grants, which could fund different portions of potential actions. As well as some of the other more roadway specific and culvert specific funding programs, including DCR's dam and seawall repair program, the Mass DOT allocations through Chapter 90 for things like the multi-use path, things like Mass Trails, as well as some of the other Mass DOT culvert program funds that could be used to implement longer term culvert upgrades. We did highlight some of the federal national funding mechanisms. It's worth noting that these are often even more competitive and very hard to get, but can be built into part of a larger program where maybe other coastal communities throughout Cape Ann are trying to address, say several low-lying road areas across Cape Ann. We've seen several successful applications where projects are bundled together as part of a regional application through a funding mechanism like NIFWIF, the second one from the top, the National Coastal Resilience Fund, which then can enable some of the additional work that needs to be done, be it at the design phase or permitting phase or even implementation as well. So we highlighted a few of those, as well as a caveat about FEMA funding. We did get several questions during the workshop specific to FEMA funding, both from FMA funding and some of the other funding mechanisms that have historically existed through FEMA. One of the challenges with FEMA funding, especially for this area, is that despite the significant costs that could come with some of the proposed actions and implementing them over time, it's to secure FEMA funding, you have to show that the benefits outweigh those costs, and it's really challenging when trying to set a benefit cost ratio where the benefits outweigh the costs to really account for enough of the benefits to offset the potential costs, so to sufficiently quantify avoided losses that would be a result of some of these proposed actions would be very difficult. And we did talk about in the workshop, opportunities for roadway elevations, but really to get to a level of flood risk reduction generated from those, it's really infeasible to get the amount of roadway elevation in there that you would need. So we included a couple of notes about those, and then in the back end of the documentation package, and I promise I'll just be 1 or 2 minutes longer. We included some of those additional parking configurations that Andy mentioned. These can be really helpful when talking through, existing conditions to two-way parallel parking conditions that still incorporate some form of a mixed-use path, as well as some of the diagonal parking options that were explored in some of the renderings. And just from a space constraints, standpoint, working within the right-of-way, kind of show the variety of options that would be available. And this, of course, as Andy mentioned, would be kind of contingent upon the direction in which the community wants to head. These were some of the parking renderings that we showed just as examples of what some of these actions could look like, more in space, I know we got criticized in one of our debrief meetings that the porta potty is not shown in these renderings, but we left it off here. Of course, there could be some form of portable restrooms provided in some of the future implementation plans. But all of this, as I mentioned before, will be published this week on both the project website and town website for folks to really dig into. We do want to just take a brief moment before closing our presentation to just thank all the members of the Manchester community that came out over the course of those 2 days. We really enjoyed getting to walk the site with folks, talk with folks, get ideas, solicit feedback, try and make visual some of these ideas to carry forward. We also want to acknowledge the great team from the town staff standpoint, and Tony, Chuck, and Nate, who helped us organize and coordinate a lot of the activities that went into the development of these initial concept plans and the corresponding vulnerability assessment. And with that, I can kick it back out to members of the board and open it up for any questions. Many thanks.
Great. Thank you very much, Andy and Alex. Very complete. I wasn't there for all of the meetings, but I was there for one or two of them anyway. And there's a lot of information I know that you collected to create this presentation. This is becoming available when, in the next day or two?
This week we'll have it, hopefully in a day or two, we'll have it posted on the website. And our hope was to organize, another meeting with the community that was only focused on this project rather than it being one of, 12 agenda items on your meeting tonight.
Okay.
So that would give the community a little bit more time to kind of digest, rewatch this video, take a look at the materials, and then we can have a, longer discussion about what was presented and some of the options and the priorities. And, I think the goal of this project, knowing how challenging the site is and all the different elements related to it, is really to try to establish that groundwork, the foundation of the discussion, and talk openly about the alternatives that we can consider and get response from the public on whether those alternatives or those priorities, where they are in the priority list, whether they're favorable or not. For almost any of the permitting that we would do, regardless of what design we ultimately select, we will have to show an alternatives analysis. So a lot of the feedback that we got during the public meeting and hopefully at the next public meeting will help us articulate that many of those alternatives were considered and evaluated. Essentially, the regulators require that we go through that process. So hopefully in the next week or two, we can have a community meeting and spend a decent amount of time collecting feedback from the public, documenting that. So to help us build the eventual, case that we make, regardless of whatever decision, direction we end up going in.
I have a question. Could we see the, hard to ask my question without the visuals, sorry.
I'll
Had a
go ahead.
chart. You had a chart that had the near term, it was like a swim lane. You had your near term, your 3 to 5 years or whatever. Yeah, that one. So there are probably, I'm guessing, some actions on the pages of this pathway to implementation. There are probably some items that we have to do regardless of what we want that street to look like. Okay, is that clearly, I can't read the documents, I apologize, but is that clearly articulated? Because that's one of the things I'm looking for personally out of this, is what are those things that we have to do no matter what we want it to look like?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the short answer is yes, that they're very much framed as the enabling actions. They're those things that you need to do and they need to come before any of the bigger moves. And they would include things like
The
that.
reason I'm asking the question is the near-term enabling actions were presented as low-hanging fruit, not must-dos. I'm trying to understand, is that first column with the dots in it, are those the must-dos, or are some of those optional?
I mean, technically, all of these are optional, but if you do want to improve the roadway, these would be considered must-do actions. If you do want to address the structural, integrity of the existing revetments and seawall, you must do the structural assessment that's included in these near-term actions. If you want to get things permitted, you must have that early coordination meeting with regulators to get in front of them and tell them a little bit more about what you're envisioning for the future of the roadway. So in that sense, they're very much viewed as must-do actions. And I refer to them as low-hanging fruit in that they don't carry the same price tag as, say, that culvert upgrade that you might do 10, 15, 20 years down the line, which could be, several millions of dollars, if you pursue that in the future.
But what about sequencing? So this is a list. Are any of these other dependencies? I'm thinking of putting this in a project plan, you have your list, and then the next thing is establishing the timing of the dependencies. So for the must-dos, right, the 1 to 3 years, is there a sequence of events? Must they be sequenced in a certain way, or can some things be done in parallel? That's kind of what.
Yeah, good. No, good question. So, all of the near-term actions could happen concurrently.
Okay.
Where the contingencies really come into place is in the midterm actions. So, one of the midterm actions really is to make those, structural repairs. You can't do that. You shouldn't do that before actually having a thorough assessment of what's actually going on with the seawalls and the revetments. So that, in that sense, the contingencies are very clearly spelled out, and they cross-reference back to the near-term actions that need to predate them.
To turn that around just a little bit, Andy, on Kathy's point, do all of these near-term actions need to be done before you can do any of the midterm or long-term actions? Now, I realize we can't read this, and maybe that's evident when we get to see the report, but you got 1, 2, 3, you got 6 up there. You got to do all these 6 before you even think about the second phase or the third phase, or some of those, we can skip this because there's nothing contingent on this item or that item.
Yeah, that's correct. So, you can, for example, pilot that one-way, one-lane drive aisle. That's a near-term action that you could do. You may decide that it's not going to fly in the community to do that, and you want to stick with your 2-lane configuration. That is going to impact your ability to then, in the future, say as part of a midterm or long-term action, actually implement a multi-use path, a designated multi-use path, because you just don't have enough right of way. So that's what's spelled out as far as the contingencies and sequencing in this table here, and then in a more narrative form and a visual form in some of the complementary graphics that we have at the back end of the package as well.
So is there some kind of a swim lane or timeline or something at the back of the package?
As far as the
timing, like high level chart, something without dates, but just timing?
That's what's included in this pathway to implementation, like what you could get started on in the next several years, to what you could accomplish over the next decade, and then decade and beyond. That's kind of the way in which we broke up the timeline, if you will.
All right. Alex and Andy are here, so questions?
Ann has her hand.
Oh, Ann, you're up there? Yes, Ann?
It looks to me, I have the advantage of being able to read the presentation.
Yay!
The first thing on the list is the structural evaluation, which I consider absolutely essential. The second is meeting with the Massachusetts regulators to understand what's possible. That, I think, is also something we should take on very quickly. The other things there were mostly, well, we could look at angled parking, we could look at making it one way. Those strike me as being less essential to the long term, and could be done at any point when we thought it was appropriate. So that's basically what I got out of this part of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Others on the board?
Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I'm a little, out of, Ms. Harrison, ability to read the fine print for us. And I would agree with, both those first two steps. I mean, we might find, then we might have to go to a whole different, if the, infrastructure is really, really bad, you might have to take a whole different view of the whole design process. We don't know that till we do an inventory of what's going on. And so I think that's essential. And it's always good to get out in front. And if the state and feds feel they have some ownership in the process, they might be more willing to, write a check at some point if it's their idea as opposed to ours.
Or let us do what we want.
Well,
Yeah.
one way or the other, but I've always believed that in negotiations, if you let the other people think it's their idea, it goes a long way.
Now, obviously, whatever we do is going to be in phases over years and years. Who is going to be the steward of this thing?
Well, it depends on what. Well, I guess it would be our DPW director, along with the consultants. But each of those phases are subject to funding and, so as far as timing goes, how we pursue that. Like, for instance, we don't have the funding right now for the structural assessment. That's something that if it's something that the town wants to prioritize, either through capital funds at a future town meeting or by pursuing some potential grants. Once that funding is unlocked, then we can pursue that phase. And I think that is going to guide us the most in this initial process as to what the next step becomes.
Right.
So one more question. One of the residents, the abutters, had already performed some type of scientific technical assessment. They had paid for it out of their own pocket. So, Alex, I know you guys had that. It was provided to you.
That's correct.
I guess my expectation was that you'd look at it and give us some feedback on whether or not you thought it was accurate, because it was fairly recent. It wasn't.
That's correct.
Right? Could you elaborate?
Yeah, sure. No, thanks for bringing that up. Yep. So as part of the other studies and as-built that we had for the site, we did receive the privately commissioned assessment of the area. It was a very preliminary assessment. I don't think there was anything in there was necessarily in conflict with what evolved through this process. A lot of the information that they had to operate on, actually one of the recommendations that they had, it's Wesson and Sampson, were the consultants who helped with that assessment. One of the primary recommendations that they had was getting a better handle on the vulnerability assessment for this area using some of the physics-based probabilistic flood modeling that the town commissioned through this project, as opposed to just relying on some of the FEMA data. One of the other primary recommendations out of that, probably of no surprise to anyone in the room, was to conduct the structural assessment. That's very much in line with what we heard and what we're advocating as one of the potential actions through this exercise here. But overall, where the study was a little bit more limited was, it hadn't done any of the the tide gauge deployment, the coastal resource delineation. All of that information is really, really helpful in that early must-do step of coordinating with regulators and going to them with these ideas. And fortunately, that was realized through this effort here. So we had access to that report, and certainly looked at it even before we went out on the walk shop, just to kind of see what was included in it. But ultimately, this is really like a really expanding upon that with more of the scientific foundation that you need to actually establish whether or not a lot of these actions are even feasible or permittable.
Other questions here? All right. Public have questions for Alex or Andy at this point? Mr.
Chuck
Perlow.
Perlow, 19 Ocean. I'm a little confused about what the deliverables were for this report. When we met in June, one of the clear sentiments of the group was they didn't want two dead-end streets, and they didn't want a one-way road. And here we have the one-way road back again. It seems like nothing that the public says resonates. So I'm confused by that. But also, there are two other things that I would have looked for in the deliverables, which have to be done irrespective of what we do with the seawall at Black Beach and the revetment at White Beach. And that is the culvert and the roadway from Roe Island over to, let's just say, arguably, the seawall at Black Beach. We need to determine their structural viability. We have a written document by Mr. Barletta's predecessor, which has declared the culvert road is not safe for heavy vehicles. Now, I see the hook and ladder truck on its runs when it comes up Ocean Street. So I haven't been particularly worried about that, but it's in writing, and he says it's structurally unsound. So I don't understand how those two very important things, which have to be done irrespective of what we do about what happens at the two seawalls and the two beaches, weren't addressed.
I can chime in on that, and I can certainly welcome others to speak as well. So Chuck, thank you for your comment. I do want to just clarify again that the concept plan that was put forward is very much a preliminary concept plan. We did look at, as you rightly pointed out, different alternatives for the roadway configuration, including two ways with dead ends, including one way. What's not being advocated through this documentation package is, to say that it has to be a one way. Just as you may have heard, certain folks were opposed to the one way. We also got a lot of feedback that folks would like to consider how that might work and how that might work with a shared use path. So that's how we tried to frame it very much in the context of this package here. So I think there's still that flexibility to, if really the idea is to keep it a two-way, that can still happen. It's not prescriptive in that sense. And then I think, your comment's well made about the need for, addressing the structural integrity of both the revetments and the seawall, and fortunately that's not in conflict with anything that's being captured as part of the preliminary concept. There may be kind of initial preliminary studies, but from what we've reviewed, you still very much need a comprehensive assessment of that seawall, especially as it ties into the culvert, especially as it may tie into alternative culvert configurations that may be needed, and then how that ultimately affects the hydraulics of the marsh and the potential impacts to the residential properties on the marsh side. So that's what we tried to capture as part of the phased approach to next steps in looking at implementing some of these potential actions. So that's what I have to say there. And Andy, I don't know if you have anything else to add or others that were involved in the project.
No, I would just reiterate that the intention is to provide flexibility for the community to make the ultimately make decisions on the direction for the street alignments and the flow of traffic moving forward. There's a lot of optionality that's still that can still be made on that, and it doesn't tie you into anything. But there's decisions that could get made in the future that potentially lead you down one path or the other. And that's, that's what's kind of included in this report to this point. And then understanding what's, how the structural integrity of both the street next to the seawall and also around the culvert as well are critical parts to really understand.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Thanks, Chuck Dan, DPW. I just wanted to also chime in on this particular thing. There was a phase of this project where we were looking at potential grants that would have doubled the scope, that we would have been allowed to, explore some of these options in greater detail, whether it be the preliminary options as well as some of the homework that needed to be done with the structural analysis of both the roadway and the culvert. Unfortunately, we were not successful in getting those grants, and so that is why has not been included yet. And I think it's important to note that when we look at doing a full structural analysis on the roadway and the wall, we'll be looking at doubling the price of this, particular phase of the work. So we spent $100,000 of town money on this. We weren't able to get the grants that would have been more. So to do a full structural analysis, we're talking about test pits, we're talking about borings, we're talking about sounding analysis, we're talking about looking at the sending people in to look at the culvert. Those are going to be very costly steps, and so we definitely will be doing those. But I think that the action that we've taken here to help inform those decisions was the necessary first step. And as Alex said, and as everybody here knows, it will not be the last step.
I have a question. So if I just want to reframe, because like I said, unfortunately, at least I can't see what was presented. Got my glasses on and everything. Can't see what was presented. So I do think we need some soak time to review the documentation. I think calling a meeting with the, invite everybody who attended all of those, walkthroughs and roundtables and everything, and just have another meeting on Ocean Street. But what I think I heard today is we took some necessary steps to collect some scientific data we didn't have previously so that we could have productive conversations with the regulators. Is that a fair statement, or did I misunderstand?
That's part of it.
Part of it. I mean, we got a lot of other
Yeah.
ideas, et cetera. But I'm trying to understand the scientific data, because obviously we're not going to go through that in a select board meeting, right? I'm trying to understand the purpose of, the scientific data that was collected as part of that. What was the purpose of that?
Yeah, as Alex, you can answer that if I don't have it all myself. Essentially, we need that information for any future work that would be required to be permitted, through the state or the federal government, or local. So not only does it prepare us for that process, but it also helps us navigate the different options that we could potentially consider.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a very, very important part of it. The other two parts are it's also what's needed to begin those discussions around potential funding mechanisms. A lot of the grant mechanisms that are highlighted, especially those at the state level, require this type of analysis and consideration of future flood conditions. That's really, really important. And then we like to have this information as well when just kind of being able to benchmark the range of feasible actions. One of the biggest things we really wanted an answer to was, what is the reality when it comes to potential future road raisings in this area? What type of what degree of risk reduction could you get for potential roadway elevations? Where would those need to be made? Is roadway elevation really feasible in this area? Or are you going to be chasing elevations all around? That's basically the side streets feeding into Ocean Street. That information is really important to then level set on expectations around, what is feasible, what is potentially prudent when, having an open conversation with members of the community around, all right, what ideas do you have? It's not surprising in the context of these workshops to have, ideas like that proposed. Well, can't we just elevate our way out of it? Well, we can talk about that. We can talk about where the low points are. We can then talk about, well, if you want to come up in elevation, what impacts is that going to have on the adjacent coastal resources? And then circling back around to the regulatory considerations, is that even going to be permittable? In those conversations with the regulators, are they going to go, there's no way. That's why that information is really helpful. It's to have the conversations with the regulators to kind of hem in your range of possible or potential opportunities for action, and then ultimately have done a bit of the homework you need to apply to some of these grant programs that are going to want to see that you've considered not only your existing conditions, but also future projected conditions.
Okay, good. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and is that a perpetual hand, Ann, or you've got a specific?
No, this is a specific hand.
Specific.
Um,
Okay.
Mr. Furlong referenced a study or report that our previous town administrator had saying that the road was unsafe for heavy traffic. And that is not a piece of information that I had not seen that before. And I guess my question to Tony is, have you seen that? Is there actually something suggesting that the road is not safe for heavy vehicles?
I have not seen that.
No.
That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I'm not sure. But I haven't seen it myself.
No, was that a report or was that a memo or opinion? I don't.
Right here, John.
Yes.
Brenda Furlong, 19 Ocean Street. It is a written statement that was given by Greg Fettersfield in application to the government for grants and permits. He unequivocally said that it was structurally unsafe for emergency vehicles. And my view is that is a number of years ago. I will find the document. I will send it to each of you. But my view is that is a very big potential liability if there's ever a problem, that our town administrator at the time made that statement and made it in writing.
So that was the grant application that we wound up not accepting?
No.
Oh, no, it was a different one.
It was a different one.
Different one, okay.
And I will find it and distribute it to everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
All
I mean,
right,
the
I'm
road,
not sure.
the road should be posted if that's the case. But who's to say whose opinion that was at the time?
Yeah, I don't know if that's included in that topic. Okay. Other questions? Yes.
Yes,
Mary Ann.
Mary Ann Coombs, 5 Ocean Street. So I just want to clarify for Chuck, so basically by doing the step that we've just done here, that hopefully will help us in going for grants further. Had we done this step before we went for the grant, chances are we might have gotten that grant. Is that fair enough statement?
Right, and it's, a difference of like preliminary step grants that we were going for. Now we've done that preliminary step, so now we're going for the
So
downstream.
at least gain some ground.
We moved the.
Okay, that,
We put some skin in the game.
okay.
So can I ask, before we meet with the residents, can I have a favor? Chuck and Nate, you know how I like those Gantt charts, right? I mean, process, like we're talking about in the facilities committee, right? What are the whole steps? What's the list of steps, graphically, that we have to take to get to some, resolution? And where are we on the barometer here, right? So where are we on the spectrum of steps we have to take? It's very preliminary, and that's great. But what isn't clear is what is the rest of the stuff? What are the rest of the decisions we have to make? What are the rest of the processes we have to go through? Some high level feel for not just what's next, but what is the holistic plan look like?
Yeah, I think we can put something like that together. I don't expect it to be linear. I expect it to, there's many different roads that you end up taking based on the information you get.
Yeah, you could do a swim lane.
I mean, there's always this alternative option of continuing to service the roadway that we have in the past and not pursuing some major investment. But I think it'd be too soon, obviously, any of those decisions, it's too soon to really know. the structural assessment, I think, is the big first step.
Mhm.
And the discussion with the regulators too. I've gone through a project in the past where the town, we went, kind of far on designing a potential project and then went to the regulators and they said, absolutely no way. Then we went and, had to redo all that and we lost a lot of time and money and, we have a lot of folks who are, have a big interest in what happens here. And making sure that that communication with the public is something that they can count on. So if you start a project and you say, we're gonna go down this road, and then all of a sudden regulators pull you back, there's confusion. I thought we were doing this project, why aren't we doing that anymore? So that's why I think, just to part of what Mr. Furlong had mentioned, from the beginning in these meetings with Fuss and O'Neill, we talked about how the town wasn't going into this process with any sort of agenda or desire for a particular concept. We really wanted to lay out all the different potential concepts and understanding that many of those may be way off base, that the public may not be interested in many of those. But really putting that groundwork together so that we can evaluate those and document that feedback. It will be part of the evaluation that regulators will do regardless of whatever project that is.
Okay. One last question. I'm gonna have one last question. So if we have a meeting with the residents just on Ocean Street, then and we want to pursue something, right? As Ann indicated, that the next steps are likely, the structural assessment and meeting with the regulators. Do we have to wait for a structural assessment to be completed before we meet with regulators? Or do we have enough information and enough scientific data to start conversations with regulators? That's what I'm trying to understand the dependencies here.
It would seem to me, you've got to know what you're dealing with.
That's why I'm asking Alex. He's mentioned that they're.
You can meet with regulators at several different points. If it were me proposing the sequence of activities, I would say you could do both of those at the same time. I think, to socialize the idea that hey, we just had a, community planning workshop and design charrette, went through a bunch of different, looking at a bunch of different alternatives. We have, several different ideas for potential actions, inclusive of this structural assessment. We want to get a pulse on any of these, actions that, may not fly in your eyes or that you're going to need additional analysis on, or, you may even just specific to the structural assessment. We've gotten into projects out on Cape Ann, like the Gloucester Marine Station over on the other side of Cape Ann there on the north side, by Hodgkins Cove there, where we did a flood analysis, got into MIPA, and then CZM required an additional coastal flow path analysis so that the proposed structures that we were planning to put on site for the outdoor classrooms and the crane and the dock and the seawall improvements there needed additional analysis. Engaging in those types of conversations earlier doesn't hurt. And then once you have the structural assessment done and you have maybe even preliminary designs around the needed improvements, going back to them at that point and saying, okay, this is what we're proposing to do. That's another touch point you can have with regulators. I think just making them aware that this is important to the community. These are some of the ideas that were shared by the community, and that you want to engage with them as a partner early and often. That never hurts. Never hurts.
2 hands up on the screen. Preston, Traverse, and Ann's hand is up too.
Yeah.
Preston, yes.
Yeah, just really quickly, I just want to say, first of all, I want to thank the town for the project and thank Alex.
Name and address, please, Preston.
My name is Preston Travers at 100 Ocean Street. So I'm right kind of in the middle of it. I appreciate the work everyone's done. And the only thing I wanted to mention is, we talk about the execution of this. And my suggestion to the town and the committee is that, you think about what the structure is to bring this forward. Is it a subcommittee of volunteers? Is it an individual trust or nonprofit that needs to be created to help drive this thing forward? Because it feels like it's bigger than a bread box. And just putting it on to the town without additional volunteers or additional resources to cover all those checkpoints that were in the report, and I could see them when they were up. Feels like something like the overall town needs to think about, whether there's some volunteers and whether there's lawyers in the community that can actually volunteer and help to do some of this preliminary work and to create what was being asked, that project plan of what's next. What's the cadence of the things to do? So that's just a suggestion I wanted to make to the town. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Preston. And Anne.
Given that the select board had not seen the presentation until tonight, and although I could read it, no one else could. I'd like to suggest that we not leap immediately into a discussion with a separate meeting with the residents. I'd like the board to have several weeks to think about what was presented and understand it, and have suggestions rather than just going ahead as quickly as possible.
All right, so your suggestion is perhaps some sort of put it on as a discussion item at some point in the near future before jumping into a forum, shall we say?
I would like to see us discuss it, perhaps not at the next meeting, but at the following meeting, and then go meet with the residents. Obviously, are welcome to any discussion we have, but rather than having a session specifically about a whole session specifically about this, make sure we understand what has been presented.
So let's piggyback on that for a minute. So let's say we wanted to propose some budgetary items for the next cycle, right? By when would you want to understand have those inputs, Tony? And let's work back from that to make sure we don't push these conversations out so far to the right that we miss another planning cycle, right? So before I would agree with what Anne suggested, I would want to understand those benchmarks. Because I presume like September usually is when your team is working on their budget for the next year, right?
That's right, and that's part of that. I was thinking part of that too. The other part is that I know the community and the neighborhood is eager to have a more in-depth discussion about what this report has found. I think that in my past, we typically had the DPW director, the town administrator, and the consultant lead those community meetings. We would usually do them on Zoom because it was easier for the public to kind of tune in and get that public feedback. Select board members would have the opportunity, obviously, or anyone else, anyone can join those meetings and hear that public feedback. And then at interim steps, I would, with the consultant and the DPW director, present, the progress to the select board and make sure we're still heading down a similar path. So I can appreciate Anne's point, though. I just would say that we should at least set a date for the neighborhood to expect when we'll have this, more in-depth discussion.
Well, that can go on our task list.
Well, yeah, I guess my
There's an
concern
item.
is I don't know that the five of us have a specific expertise that are going to ask any better questions than including the whole set of residents who participated in the walk
They're all
around.
lay people.
And you look specifically, Brian, what specific questions would you ask, or Jeff? Maybe I'm off base here, but
Well, you need to look at.
Yeah, I think.
myself.
The lowest common denominator.
I kind of agree with Ann, though. It's like, we haven't really had a chance to look at this, really.
Take a look at it at the next meeting though? I mean, I just.
Well, I think that.
I'd go 2 meetings. I think one is a little bit tight. That's
We
all.
also got a housing production plan we have to look at.
Yeah, so let's put a placeholder for at least 2 meetings out. What's that, second meeting of September?
Yeah.
So if the second meeting of, so is that gonna work from a budget cycle standpoint, Tony? Again, that's my concern, because I'm sensing that we need to do something financially, and I don't want to push this out so far that we.
You throw a number of dollar value, it's not. I mean, this is
Well, we can look at it.
We have. It's one of those odd schedules, so there's 3 weeks, there's. Our first select board meeting is September 8th because of Labor Day.
Okay.
So you have.
Plus 14.
You got almost 3 weeks to take a look at. I would suggest that we put it on the September 8th agenda and maybe schedule. For the 9th or the 10th, the later that week, the neighborhood meeting.
Okay.
Just so it doesn't slip too far. But obviously I gotta check with Alex and Andy and what their schedule is.
I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, people are still on vacation. If you push the neighborhood meeting into early September, that makes sense, as long as it's early September. Make sure people are back from vacation and stuff like that.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask you a
Yes.
question? If you meet in 3 weeks, are you still gonna post it on the website, and is Fussin O'Neill still gonna post it on their website this week?
Yes.
Yeah,
So.
that's the expectation.
So you will make that.
It will be there, yeah.
Need it this week, right?
It'll be there.
And the second thing, which I think I've broken the code of what you're saying, but if I haven't,
Okay.
correct. How much have we spent with Fussin O'Neill of our 100,000? And how much more might we need for fiscal 27? Is that your
Well,
point?
I wasn't going back to see how much we spent with Fussin O'Neill, but if the key next steps are a structural assessment, right? Then we're gonna need money, according to Chuck, to do that. We don't have that. That's gonna go into the FY 28 budget.
28, yeah.
Unless there's something to be found and left over from FY 27.
Yep.
I don't think that much.
Right, not that amount,
Yeah.
right?
All right.
I think it'd be a good idea to make certain that we have enough money to do
Right.
what we need to do in
Yeah.
the next fiscal year.
Well, I think I heard it's at least 200K.
I don't want it. I will
Numbers.
definitely do more homework and talk to.
Okay, that'd be
I think that
helpful.
was one thing we discussed at the workshop, was having a true scope and budget.
Yeah.
That we can look for money.
That'd be awesome.
Okay,
Thank you.
yes.
Hey, John Keith, 8 Victoria Road. A couple of things. One, maybe we're on the topic. Is there money left in this Fussin O'Neill budget for additional work and clarifications? The second thing we've heard about, I think that it would be really incumbent upon us to do this regulatory framework hierarchy and address that before we even worry about structural things. That's kind of a free task. I don't know if Mr. Dam and his team have enough time and capacity to do that. But the constraints that's gonna lay out on us are gonna be paramount to where we go and what those next steps are. The third piece would be to overlay. Is there any town land on any budding this besides the right of way, or is that all privately owned on all sides of the street? Because that could be overlaid onto this as well. So I saw those little maps that we're gonna do this here and do that here. I think there's some town land on the marsh side, I'm not sure, but that would be nice to see that overlaid on it, because that could tell us about, maybe the road cuts into the, I don't know what they even call that, the inside Crow Island, or is the.
It's a little.
Yeah, I mean, is that town land?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's some opportunities to go there, and so I feel like we're constraining ourselves into the footprint we have when we might have more footprint to deal with. And then that regulatory element layers onto that, if that's even feasible. So like, for example, all that structural stuff 100 years ago wasn't there, right? That was all, or whatever it was, so, some many years ago, it was just rocks and who knows. So we seem to be, we're gonna be throwing the apples into the air anyway, so we should be expanding perhaps the scope of where we're looking rather than confining ourselves to just that current roadway.
Well, with the exception of Ann, none of us have really looked at it in detail, and I don't think Ann's had a long enough time to go through all of the details.
None of us have. But
You certainly got a running start on us, so.
Yeah.
We'll plan on September 8th for another gathering in between now and then have an opportunity to take a look at this, but my reaction to the presentation from Alex and Andy tonight is it's a good high level or intermediate level summary of the wants, what's doable, what's allowable, and what might be affordable. Those are all of the key questions that are looming in front of all of us with regard to this project. So good. I think we're set with this, and we will stay tuned for the developments a few weeks down the road here, but we'll all have an opportunity to look at this in the coming days. Good. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks very much, Alex, Andy.
Thank you.
All right.
But we're gonna have all the stuff to look at.
Okay, action items. First list on the list is the alcohol beverage area for 35 Beach. Who's talking about this? Is that
Matt,
Matt?
so do you want to?
No, go ahead. Okay.
Okay.
I'll just chime in there.
All right, so 35 Beach is seeking a request to amend the premises as defined on their liquor license with the town to add a outdoor dining area, which was included. I think there was a layout included in your backup packet. It's been constructed. The two, I guess, key elements that jumped up the page for me was the guidance from the ABCC as to outdoor seating areas, one of which requires or suggests, highly recommends that there be a definitive barrier to where the alcohol is being served or consumed. This area abuts the sidewalk and abuts the driveway for Ace Hardware. The portion that abuts the sidewalk, the proposal here is to add a soft barrier there to identify the space. And Matt and I spoke about the abutting portion to the driveway and having some heavier barrier there that would provide some safety to anyone sitting on the, because it's abutting the driveway. And he recommended
large
heavy
planter boxes with sand and rocks in them to, they'll be about 4 feet wide, 4 feet long, 32 inches high, and then about 20 inches wide. So they'll be pretty large right there.
The second thing that jumped out the page to me was that they don't have direct access to the area, which is okay. They do have direct eyesight from inside, which is another element of the guidance from ABCC. I think they'll have staff.
Yeah, we'll be monitoring. We're also going to put a camera up as well. Security camera.
But they're gonna have to carry alcohol out the front door on the side.
Yeah, so everything goes out the front door and in the front door.
That's right.
Right.
Yes.
So we spoke about how that could potentially present a concern to the town, that we would like to have an agreement that indemnifies the town of any liability for employees or patrons of 35 Beach. And I received on Sunday, I received a draft of that agreement, which I shared with the select board. I have not shared that with Matt yet. But it basically includes a lot of the details that we discussed. And
There's no way around it, so it's probably okay. And we'll be using plastic. We won't be using glass outside.
Okay. There's a motion that we have to make here.
I just have a question.
Go ahead.
Only because this goes back to some of the ZBA days. Those planter boxes, have you, the neighbor, the butter?
Yes, I apologize. We did, I did email all the butters that Dave did me. And Dave, he sent me a text saying, thank you for the letter. I support 100%. Let me know if you need a letter.
And that's,
Yeah,
that's the one.
that's a great question. I forgot to mention it. Thank you.
Other questions? Comments from the board?
I'm good.
All right.
Like outdoor dining. Nice. I move that the select board approve the proposed outdoor alcohol beverage area at 35 Beach Street and authorize the town administrator to enter into a sidewalk permitting agreement with the property owners in connection with the updated alcohol license area.
Second, okay. Any further discussion? Jeff?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
And John says yes.
Thank you very much.
Go 14.
I look,
Appreciate
like
it.
you, I look forward to getting that.
Yeah, the patio was lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. The housing production plan, and you've been very patient, Mark. Yeah.
I gave you 3 minutes. So, planning board submitted the housing production plan to you for your review. The housing production plan, was last written 5-6 years ago and, needed to be updated. Generally, they're updated every 5 years. The planning board voted at their last meeting to submit it. The next step would be for your board to review it and then it gets voted to be submitted to the state. So, and then the state has to review it and they will either approve it as written or they'll send out some comments that the planning board would address, revote the plan, forward it again to you, and then back to the state. So that is the process, and that is why I'm here today. Along with Peter Morton from the planning board.
Check.
Could you talk a little bit about maybe some of the improvements or changes as compared to the previous plan?
So the plan does several things. One of the key elements of the plan is to analyze the town's housing needs and needs for affordable housing or for all types of housing as well. So it might be, for example, in our community, we need some senior housing. We have a lot of, we have an aging population, which you can see in the charts. And we have very expensive homes. But we need places that have any senior housing, and we need places for seniors to move to, whether it's places that provide care as they get older or just a place where they can downsize to a larger home. So that's one of the things that's identified in our community. Other communities might identify that they need workforce housing or that they need, let's say, because of the lack of the reduction in the need for office space, they might find in their community that you need to redevelop some office parks. So that's kind of what one of the main purposes of the plan. The other thing about having a plan is that if you do produce affordable housing, you're then allowed to call timeout or claim safe harbor for a year or two, depending on the number of units that are created that are affordable units, as far as processing or approving 40B applications. So that's the other part of a housing production plan. So our plan called for a need for kind of the missing middle, which a lot of plans call for, the kind of the moderate priced housing, as well as the need for truly affordable units and senior housing. So those are kind of the three main elements of the housing plan. So
Imagine it also incorporates a lot of the zoning changes that have
Yes.
been accomplished locally and or, ADUs, changes, or MBTA changes initiated by the state?
Yes, so there's a discussion about three main elements, things that we've done in the last few years. One is the MBTA zoning, which added the potential for several hundred units. The second one was the approval of the ADU bylaw. And thirdly was the downtown zoning that was recently passed at town meeting, which allows for some additional units in the downtown area. So there's a discussion of that. The other thing that the plan touches on is like the town's ability to provide land or provide opportunities for housing. So there's a bit of a discussion about the town, lack of town land, as well as the fact that we're currently under evaluating town facilities. So we have the issue with the police and fire stations. They need to be relocated. We have the public safety building, the public works building being kind of evaluated, whether it moves or not, whether it gets combined. So there may be, depending on what the eventual solution, land opportunities available for affordable housing. So there's a discussion of that in there as well.
Can I also add, thanks, Mark, Peter Morton, 128 Bridge Street, and on the planning board. It's a very lengthy document. It's 100+ pages.
You saw that.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
And it's chock full of data.
Yes, we saw that too.
Yeah. And so what we tried to do is the previous one 5 years ago had about a page-long summary. So we spent more time in bringing a lot of what we thought was the most relevant information to the top. So the summary now is much more comprehensive and would allow someone that doesn't have the time to review 100+ pages to actually understand the meat of that plan in an effort to make the residents of this town more aware of the key issues that we're facing.
Right. Did you mean that the summary is part of the document that we received?
Yes.
Okay.
Up front. Is there a timeline on this, Mark, in terms of what the state's expectations are, et cetera?
No, the actually producing a plan is entirely voluntary on behalf of the town. So
all right,
our current plan has expired, so.
All right, I have read the executive summary, read it a couple of times. I just kind of skimmed through, yes, lots of tables, et cetera, lots of numbers. Have not really studied them. That will take some time. My preference, and I defer to my colleagues, is I'd like a little bit more time to read it and certainly put it on the agenda for the next time around, but I really want to look at the details to see where the summary came from.
What's the time sensitivity as far as getting this to the state?
He said
There really isn't one.
flexibility.
No, the planning board has voted. It's on us to
Yes.
co-vote.
But we got a Friday or whenever it was. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't have, you're not under like an obligation.
Correct.
Once it's submitted, you have 30 days to turn it around. You're not, there is no rule.
Okay.
I'm a simple person and I appreciate the executive summary because I made it through college on Cliff Notes. So, but we've got the Preston O'Neill report that we have to really address the first meeting in
September.
So I see this at the soonest second meeting in September. For the first meeting.
We can see how things go. That's fine. Yeah. We've got two reports. Anne. Yes.
Yeah. I got a little bit beyond the summary, but not much. My concern is I guess I have more than one, but one concern is seems to be a suggestion of infill housing. And the problem is we're dealing not just with the actual affordable housing, housing that is affordable in town, but housing that meets the SHI. And the SHI has a lot of formalism and a lot of extra steps to keep people from making affordable housing and then selling it to their kids. And you know, not setting up a favoritism system is a good idea. On the other hand, if you build, say, an ADU, you're not going to put it on the SHI. It's just too much hassle. So I'm worried about the extent to which the plan relies on infill housing. And the other thing that I noticed, and I am aware that there are rental places in town that are way below the 80% that comes with a 40B. And I wish there was some way to recognize that there are landlords in town who are providing housing that is actually affordable to people in town. And kind of a joint part of this, Powder House Hill used to be part of the units that were available in town that were not $3,000 a month. And we've spent 4 years, I think it's close to 4 years, trying to get that on the SHI. That shows both the difficulty of getting something on the SHI, even though that's 29 units, so it's relatively big, and we now have a housing plan ownership there. It's hard to put stuff on the SHI unless you are doing a major new development. And I hope we don't end up with a plan that depends on ADUs and the second buildings that are required, but that are allowed by the MBTA zoning act, because no individual landlord is going to want to take that on.
Yeah, and I want to echo what you just said. There are a number of property owners that are willing to rent below market rate, but are not willing to get involved with the paperwork required to get it on the SHI. It becomes a nightmare. And every time you go to rent it, you have to get it inspected, and the process is arduous. So it really is incumbent upon people that do this. That's what they do.
As I recall, it's also expensive.
Yeah.
The administrative activities.
The infrastructure
is many thousands of dollars.
Just
Well, and it's in perpetuity. It requires a deed restriction.
Yeah.
Right, that's the whole problem. People don't, and I wouldn't want to do it either. Why do you want to restrict your deed?
And then I mean, Mark, you can speak to this, but there's an element of the tenant having to go through that lottery process.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
So you lose a little bit of
if another, let's say, apartment building became available and was purchased, they would have to go through the whole process of doing the restrictions and the marketing plans and all the things that were done for townhouse apartments, including setting up an initial lottery, and inspections, and all the other things that have to get done. So it's possible that we do that again, but again, one of those landlords has to be willing to sell it to the town and to the Affordable Housing Trust.
And explain, and one more time, and I know that Kathy's asked this question as well. As we add ADUs, we add residential units. So the delta keeps growing, okay? Even though it's considered, maybe it's $500 a month, it's still considered a housing unit, which then
Puts us that much further behind.
And so again, like the plan talks about ways of providing affordable units, but there's affordable that's restricted and affordable, like if you did an ADU at your house, that's $500 a month. So that's affordable for that resident, that person who rents there, but doesn't count on our SHI. So again, the plan kind of talks about both and we need both, right? So.
The budget, the state budget had an outside section in it as well that allows for single-family homes to be converted to two-family homes by right.
Yeah.
So that could have an impact on that denominator number.
Yeah. All of a sudden, we might become a unit of 3,500
Yeah.
without ever building a unit.
Is it possible to document somehow the non-SHI compliant affordable units available in town? Is there any way to do that? In the plan to kind of. Because if you're just looking at the SHI count, one would, off the surface say there's not a lot of available affordable property in town, but maybe that's not the full picture because there is, but not SHI qualified units. But how would you even gather that information and possibly?
Well, now you gotta get landlords to report their rents, and that's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah.
Not gonna do that, but I would expect that since we are now allowing ADUs, somebody in town hall is responsible for counting them,
Yes.
right?
Yep,
So we
yep.
have an inventory of how many ADUs we have. Or, yeah, I think it's like 5 or 6 now, whatever, but we're gonna be able to maintain that inventory count, right?
We have to.
We have to, right?
I imagine pulling a permit at this point initiates the.
Yeah, right, but it won't tell you.
Won't tell you what the rent is on
It
it.
won't tell you what the rent is, but just because someone initiates the permit, it requires good record keeping to make sure we know at any point in time how many ADUs we have. That's kind of what my question is due, because we haven't had to count them before. So is somebody responsible for maintaining that inventory in town hall?
Yeah, the assessor
Assessor, okay.
has to report on that annually.
Because I think where we need to, personally, what I think we need to do is, once we get, past the election season here, the only way that we're gonna truly get protection against 40Bs, we're gonna need help changing the law of 40B. I don't think we're the only town struggling with this. I'm just saying, we're not, every ADU we add, the math is not working in our favor. I don't see a path for us to ever reach safe harbor, period. Maybe I'm a cynic, but I just don't see how we get there. So if we want to protect ourselves, or if we want to have an honest conversation at the state level, we've got to start.
So let's.
There is an alternative way to meet safe harbor, but
Okay.
I don't think any town has ever accomplished it.
Okay.
And it's based on developable land, percentage of developable land,
Okay,
versus unit
okay.
percentage. But I don't know if any town has ever really accomplished that.
I know you tried, failed.
Well, it's a lot bigger than a little
But on
7 square mile.
The resources they have
Yeah.
to try.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of time and money. And they fail, so.
Yeah.
But I just think, does the state really think 40B is a success? I mean, if they do, they won't have any reason to.
The
change
state
their
is
mind.
supportive of anything that produces more housing units.
Yeah,
We talked on the planning board about potentially aligning with abutting communities,
Mhm.
like you talked about with Ocean Street. To aggregate interest and advocacy,
Mhm.
and maybe something like that might work. Because the regulations, as you were just talking about, to put anything on the SHI is just onerous.
Right.
Yeah.
If you can eliminate bureaucracy, you can help the state achieve their goals, right?
One thing in thumbing through this, when you looked at the rental marketplace, is, well, there was an acknowledgement that the housing authority units were in there. The fact is you use them in the average, and of course, that's not real money per se. that is heavily subsidized.
Yeah.
And about 20%, 400 and something units are rental, and 100 of those are authorities, where the average rent is a few $100s. It's like $400 or $500. So it pulls down the average dramatically. And nevertheless, they put that in the grid. And I thought that was a little crazy. But I'll read it in detail.
And I think one of the challenges is gonna be that there is so much data in there that you can look at every one of those tables and come to a conclusion like you just
Yeah,
did.
it was a
So
little
if we
hard.
Keep doing that, and that was the issue we had, is just to approve it, to get to this stage was really.
And I think the average rent was like, I don't know, $1,600. They said, where?
Yeah, where's that?
Where's that? So it was because of things like that, which are tough. So long as you know you're looking at that, you say, well, all right. Seemed a little
And-
strange.
The housing production plan, as Mark stated, serves two kind of primary purposes, right? One is potentially to assist with achieving some type of temporary safe harbor. The other is to outline the town's housing needs and goals. The temporary safe harbor provided to you through a housing production plan process is, in development terms, extremely temporary. You know, it's not really that's why a lot of communities end up focusing more on, using the plan to outline their local needs and goals. But that's why I asked the question, because I don't know if it would move the needle all that much, but, truly understanding how much affordable housing, even though it may not be capital A affordable SHI units, truly understanding what is available in town would help paint that picture, but it's hard to
We
get
have
that
to work with
information.
you and your team to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all in the assessor's office, right? Or should be.
Well, not the rents.
Zillow.
Not the rent,
Zillow,
So it's.
apartments.com, Zillow.
Well, I gotta tell you, in this town, I don't think apartments really ever hit them, so.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
I've only seen a
Oh,
couple.
somebody knows
and
somebody.
You gotta know- you gotta
Is
you
Ann?
gotta know something.
Yes, Ann.
Yeah, I think that the way a lot of towns have got into safe harbor is by having 40Bs.
Yeah.
Because with a 40B, every unit counts whether it's affordable or not. So that's just such an odd contradiction that in order to claim that you have affordable units, you you credit people for not affordable units. The other is that I think it's a little late for us to be talking about safe harbor since we have two 40Bs facing us.
That ship left.
They're out there.
Failed.
All right, so we will defer this to month out, 6 weeks. Brian, you were voting for
I was thinking,
6 weeks out, but
well, I think that I'd like to, that Hazel brings back, and Mark brings back to the planning board some of our thoughts. We'll look at these things here. And all we're gonna have is more comments of basically what we've seen here. But yeah, I think, at least the second meeting.
second meeting of September?
Yeah.
That's fine.
We spent an hour on Ocean,
Ocean, yeah.
and we're gonna spend that again.
Your door is always open, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of data here. Some of
There
your
is.
questions may be answered as you kind of read through
And,
this.
perhaps, yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's put that, Tony,
Okay.
into
We'll look
September.
at it.
That'd be great. And that's the plan that we'll be revisiting, but we may be chatting with any of us in the interim. Okay, great.
That's.
Thank you.
I guess I lost my motion.
All right, let's see. Yes, that's correct, you did.
I go home now.
Take that off.
Not true. The electric permit fee, and I think we've got some stuff on that, right?
I'll try to make it quick and
Good.
simple. We increased the building permit fees about a month or so ago. And at the time, the building permit fee was $6 per thousand and the electric fee was $3 per thousand. So when we decided to change the building up to $10, we had increased the electric to $5 to keep it at half the per thousand cost. But looking at neighboring towns, that was an error on my part. And a drastic increase to go along with the building permit fee. So my recommendation, based on our neighboring towns, which are essentially at a range of $2 to $5 per thousand, is to just keep it at $3 per thousand on the electric fee for now. And we can revisit it in the future if we see the need.
Okay. I'm good. I see the list. Hamilton's at the top of the pile, but everybody else is down where we are currently.
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion, sir? Is that me? I move that the select board approve the revised electric permit fees as proposed by the building inspector. The fees can become effective immediately. Okay, that's great. Ready to vote, Jeff?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
And John says yes. Okay, I think we're set with that. All right, an easement. Is this a motion? Okay, all right. Let's see, who's gonna chat about this? You guys?
I can go. So this is for the Lincoln Street Well PFAS project. We've met with National Grid to site their new transformer that has to be brought on site. The intent for the project is to bring the electric underground from the pole into the site, helps open it up, less restrictions for us when we're bringing in equipment, doing service work, etc. So the original plan was to locate the pole. So if you're standing at the driveway, there's a immediate pole to the left, as you can see on the plan, if you have it in front of you. The existing feed goes from that black dot pole into the site. We were looking at bringing it in. They have to come in to get to the pad mount transformer. They have to set another pole and do a drop into that pad. We did not have the real estate to go directly in, and that's where the pollinator plot is. So if we were going to be bringing it straight in, we would have to impact the pollinator plot, which, wasn't ideal. So we came up with a solution where they can do a new utility pole in the grass strip to the right of the driveway, and then go do the drop there underground, under the driveway and into the pad transformer. Not losing as much on our site, having to lose pollinator plot. It allows us to keep the pad transformer tight to the driveway and as far away from the 100-year flood line as possible, which was a National Grid requirement. So just kind of a plus for the project all around. And so essentially it's just the easement to place that pole in the grass strip.
Questions?
Ready for a motion?
We are.
I move the select board approve and sign the grant easement to National Grid for the installation, maintenance, operation, repair, replacement, and related use of an underground electric distribution system at 40 Lincoln Street as described in the easement agreement.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion? Was there any discussion? Kathy?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
John is yes.
Oh, God.
Great. We're flying.
Have fun.
All right. Great. Next item up for action is the EV charging station fees. Who's dealing with that?
Chuck and I,
Okay.
you received a memo on this today or in the updated packet. Currently, our EV charging stations don't charge for the first hour.
2
There's
hours.
2
Oh, my
hours. And after the 2 hour, the rate is around $1. $1. But based on what we are being charged for the electricity, looking at the surrounding area, accounting for potential electric charges to vary. Recommendation is to eliminate the first 2 hours free and set the rate at 40 cents per kilowatt hour or $2 per hour.
Is that enough?
Right.
I don't know what the,
$2 an hour covers it.
It was,
So it's about $1.80 electricity.
Break even, is what I'm saying.
that's what's fed out per hour about, well, what is that?
$1.80. Oh, it's $1.80 worth of energy based on the
Okay.
kilowatt hour costs. And then, you know, what the.
All right, so you get what, 4 kilowatt hours per hour or whatever, something.
6. So we don't wanna make any money here?
We're not in the business of making money.
Well, I go to the gas station, they don't give it to me, so.
Cents is a little on the high side for the level 2s, but it's, you know, the point here is to cover our costs, so if.
You're getting a 10% buffer if you do $2 an hour. But you're making 10% for every hour someone's plugged in. If you go to 40, you're making.
How much do you think you'd make in a year?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. Like, I think right now you would make a lot because a lot of people are plugging in for 2 hours for free.
Right.
I think that will change a little bit.
Right, I mean, the point is, how many of those people are just doing it because it's free and they can charge somewhere else?
Well, if you go to a private Tesla charger, what do you pay?
It depends, the landlord of the chargers sets the rate.
I mean, but.
Oh, it could
It's more.
anywhere from,
Fast charging.
those are fast chargers though, that's like going to a gas station, so it's 44. Like Gloucester is like around 44 cents, I think, or Linfield is, I forget, I don't go to them that often. But like, for example, the charge point chargers we have here, that's equivalent to what downtown Beverly has, or downtown Gloucester has. Beverly is about 25 cents or 30 cents an hour, a kilowatt hour, it's a little bit less. Gloucester, I think, is 40.
So it's 20 to 40 cents.
Yes.
So there, you know, we're paying right now 27 cents a kilowatt hour for energy to keep the lights on. Like that's the rate.
Right.
So if you just charge 27 cents an hour, you break exactly even just on energy. So we're saying if you go up to $2 an hour, you're making 10% on the, you know, above the energy cost. If you go to 40 cents a kilowatt hour, you're making 30% on the energy cost. So it's.
So the question is, are we trying to make a profit? And if so, what are we using those funds for?
Well,
And if it's gonna be, you know, low
Well,
value.
what's gonna be the maintenance on these charging stations?
That's what I'm asking, what?
Yeah, I don't know how often they have to get repaired.
I think we've replaced like one of the heads,
Yeah,
one of the handles.
Yeah.
Those are like, you know, anywhere from $50 for the handle to $200 for the thing. The entire head was like 1,500. That's happened once. So that's, you know, 10 years. So
yeah,
150 a year.
But these,
150 a year.
I mean, but these things are aging, so over time, we're gonna be.
So the one of the heads is new,
They're brand new.
not the second.
Yeah.
Well, how many we got out there? We got
Just two. Two with four
heads and
handles.
four
Oh, 4 handles.
4 handles.
Okay. Understood.
They're installed in like 2017.
All right, they've been around for a while. Yeah.
So my question is, you mentioned that we also have some at the schools, or I should say the schools have them. And they have been under the same cost plan here. So does the decision we make has no impact on those charge point charges at the schools, or do we as a town own those?
So we're not 100% sure. That's why, so I did reach out to Michelle Cresta and she had the same opinion. She hasn't really been involved in it because it hasn't really come for her since she's been there. It does seem that stand to reason that the school district is paying the electricity. If one were to break, which those ones are slightly newer than ours. I don't know if they would fix it or if they would ask us to fix it or not. We haven't had that problem. But I think
It's part of the facility.
it's certainly under our charge point account. So when we were looking at it, you know, we had all the information, we could change the rate, same way we would change these rates. But, you know, I would at least ask them and talk to them about it.
It's under our
They have
account.
the same existing rate structure that we have here.
Right.
Yes,
I understand.
but if they're under our account, then
Yeah.
we get to set the rate.
Right.
But the money goes
Yeah.
into their coffers.
Well,
No.
Oh,
No.
I think
Yeah,
it's
because
really
the
ours.
district's
I don't
paying
think they,
electric.
I don't think they're getting
not sure.
the revenue. I think
Well, unless
they're-
they have a separate meter, the school's paying the.
Yeah, I thought the school would be paying that electric bill. The school.
They are paying electric.
Then
The
why
question
are we in the
they're-
middle?
We don't believe that they're getting the revenue from the, even the dollar.
Well, let's not say that really too loud
It would be nice if whatever, it would be nice if it was clean. I'll just say it that way, right? And Nate shaking his head.
We have tried, or, you know, I think Greg in the past had tried to separate the accounts. But I don't think, for whatever reason, ChargePoint wouldn't let them. So we can try that again, but I don't know the answer. And then I would just say, you know, we can set the rate and just let the school know. I'm not sure if we can keep split rates. We have,
Yeah, you can set you can
Yeah,
set
we
a
just
different
leave the
rate
rate
for,
the same.
you can set different rates for each of these out here, or any combination, you can do.
Yeah.
A lot of different permutations.
Well, let's at least get these two.
Yeah, well, please, yeah, you need to have another conversation with Michelle.
he was interested in what we decided.
I mean, if we're collecting the money, and I imagine it's just teachers that are parked there at the school,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
It could be people.
Ann had her hand up.
Just will we.
yeah, Ann, you want comment, Ann?
Yeah, in terms of dollars per minute of select board time, this is ridiculous. Let's just give the people in town a small break. They pay a lot of taxes. Give them something for free.
Because it's not for everybody. What?
Yeah, that's a
we
very nice.
charge what it's costing us.
Yeah, my point, as someone who takes advantage of it, I'm just saying, during the last budgeting cycle, there was some large conversation about electricity costs. And that led to this discussion, because why are we giving electricity away for free if we're struggling with our electricity costs? It doesn't stand to reason.
I think
So-
just point, we should
Yeah.
at least cover our costs.
Yeah, we should cover our
And the other thing
costs.
Too is, and not that this is prevalent, but I think Jack Burke is very much concerned with people parked there all day long, saying they're charging their car and they're getting, tying up.
So another, by making people pay, you do increase the likelihood they won't just hang around there and take up a space, right? That's number one. But
I don't know, for $2 an hour and I can park for the beach, who cares?
well, you can also set idle fees so that once the car is fully charged.
Well, it charges you as long as you're plugged in, whether or not you're driving.
Okay, that's right. These charges will.
I've actually got screwed a couple times where it resets and doesn't start back up, so I'm parked there.
So does it take more electricity than more to fill your truck?
Yes, it takes more hours. It's the same.
But I think the only concern I had about the rate is it seemed a little high because, 40 cents a kilowatt hour, or whatever it is. That's kind of like a supercharger rate as opposed to a level 2, but I understand Gloucester's doing that, so. My point is, can we just cover the cost,
Yeah.
So I don't want to make a profit. That wasn't what I was looking to do, because I don't think there's that much of a profit to be made, but can you cover your costs for the electricity and whatever, very periodic maintenance, once every 10 years, just
Cost plus 5%.
seems like it might be a little bit under
That's-
4.
$2 an hour.
That's fine.
Bucks an hour.
That's fine. And have another conversation, Michelle. She wants to do, she's okay.
You can jump on board.
Yeah.
You jump on board. Do
You
that.
have to make people aware of this.
Is $2 an hour translate to 40 cents a kilowatt hour? No, okay, so I had
That'd be
that.
like 240. The difference is some were just charging a kilowatt hour rate, so that was 20 to 40.
Oh, okay.
The $2 was just covering what the electricity would cost in that hour.
That's all we want to do is cover the cost. We don't
All right,
wanna
You read this.
Do this one. Yep, got it. Okay.
you want to read it?
Yes, I
Read that?
will. Okay.
Yeah.
I move that the select board set the electric vehicle charging rate at $2 per hour as recommended by the DPW director.
Second.
Enough discussion. Ready to vote?
I got my first.
Yes.
card.
Brian,
Yeah.
Ann,
No,
Kathy?
Yes.
And John, yes. Okay,
Fill her up fast, Chuck.
okay.
You're going block quick.
All right, discussion items. There's one, the harbor transactions. Tony, you sent something out to this regard?
Yes, here, staring at it.
So you have a proposed draft plan or report.
This is different than what was in the package last.
No, it's the same
Okay.
thing, just with some explanations. We updated it a little bit from the last one that you got by changing some of the titles of the categories on the plan. We first started by looking at, what the goal is for tonight, and I think that should be I think we all agreed that there should be some clear direction set by the select board as to what information should be included in the report. We started by looking at the general bylaw, and as you can tell, by looking at the general bylaw, it really doesn't give you much guidance at all. It just says that the harbor master shall post lists of all mooring permits, including mooring number, sticker, serial number, permit holder, and boat name, all waiting lists, and all mooring assignment transactions. So it doesn't, for any of those lists, it doesn't say how often these lists should be reported. It doesn't say for the waiting list and for the mooring assignment transaction list, it doesn't include those details that it does for the all mooring permit list. So clearly looking at the general bylaw, didn't give us a lot of direction. I went back and tried to look at the minutes from the town meeting that adopted this general bylaw, and they're extremely limited, just stating who made the motion and seconded, and there isn't a transcript of the discussion that happened on the floor. I tried to track down the video recording that was done by Cape Ann TV at the time. Could not get it, couldn't find that through 1623. So from there, we look at, at first, I think whatever the select board decides, it should state that the report should be filed at least annually, and then as necessary for as additional transactions occur, updating the list. I mean, I think it makes sense for it to be a running list, but certainly annually at a minimum. I also just included in here, it doesn't, that in and of itself is more than what the bylaw actually states. It just simply says all mooring assignment transactions. We think it makes a lot of sense for that to be in a list or a report format. And then we look at what we currently post for lists and think it's important that we kind of keep to a similar format with similar information. The harbor master currently posts 6 different lists on the website, which include the initial draft of this report, the yard mooring assignments, the wait list for Black Beach moorings, wait list, the total wait list for moorings, the shallow water mooring wait list, the change list, and they all mooring assignments. Generally speaking, they all include, name of the mooring holder, and the date that transaction occurred. Some of them include, vessel information. Some of them include other types of data. We thought that this report should identify any and all mooring assignment transactions. And what should be included in that report should be the mooring number, the customer name, the vessel type, the assignment date, and the assignment type. And then I know Kathy had mentioned, having a transaction number. The idea here is that you using the mooring number and the assignment date could serve as that transaction number so that you can track. If you had a question about a particular transaction, you could say transaction mooring 331 with this date. We think it's important that this is used more as a kind of a summary list, and that the rest of the information is then discoverable by looking at the additional lists that are available to the public or by speaking to the harbor master. The assignment type, which is basically the category that explains the type of transaction that occurred, I think it's got a good start to it. There's a lot of consistency there, but there's also sometimes there's elements of a transaction that are not consistent with the rest of the group. So I'd be careful about limiting the categories of transaction type or assignment type that the harbor master can choose from for the report. But I do think that some consistency makes sense. So for example, on the draft report, right now, if you see there's an example of parent/grandparent under assignment type or spouse, it's obvious to us that is a family transfer, but it may not be obvious for someone who doesn't interact with these lists commonly. Maybe an adjustment there would say family transfer dash spouse. And that would provide for some consistency as to those types of transfers falling under that family transfer type transaction. So we could do a little bit more work on that side, but for the most part, it's pretty standard. Wait list / Black Beach or shallow water. You'll see some there that say Magnolia / no wait list, because there isn't. So most of them are pretty straightforward.
And the information is there.
Yeah.
If you don't understand the
Not
information, you gotta
exactly.
ask the question.
Most of the other thing is that the assignment date, moving forward, all those transactions will include month, day, year. Looking backwards right now, it's just the year that the transaction occurred.
1960, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think as you go further into the past, it's harder to identify the exact month and date that transaction occurred. We could spend a significant amount of time looking into that, or we could just,
I think just move forward.
Move
We're not gonna go back.
So
to
can I ask a question? So the key for a transaction list, and I apologize, I would have done the search myself, but this is in a PDF format, so it wasn't Excel and I couldn't sort anything. In order to have a transaction list, a transaction means that there could be multiple lines here for one mooring. Okay, and you said earlier, Tony, that instead of having a separate transaction ID, you could find the unique records by looking at the mooring and the assignment date together. And okay, so my question is there anything on this list where you have multiple lines for one mooring because during the year, the mooring changed from one person to another?
More than once.
More than once.
it would be listed as two separate transactions.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Would I see two entries for one mooring?
Yes. Right.
Okay. That's important. And I don't see that right now. And the reason.
Because it never happens.
It doesn't
Well,
happen.
But what I'm saying is, also, if someone gives up a mooring.
Yeah.
Okay, and what you're missing here is a release date too. You don't have the date the mooring is released. So let's say it's kind of the end of the season, something happens, and they give up their mooring, okay? That's a transaction. And we have a mooring that's quote unquote unassigned. Okay, I understand we have a waiting list.
Assigned to whoever the next person on the wait list.
I understand, but let's pretend for a minute. I'm trying, what we're trying to do is document things and make sure the system that you set up can handle all scenarios, including the unlikely event that there's no wait list, okay? So if there's no wait list, let's just say, you know, just follow me, if there's no wait list and a mooring is released, okay? How does that show on this report?
Shows a new transaction going to whoever.
It should, I'm just saying there's no wait list, not going to anybody.
It doesn't have, it would just say Magnolia, like it says right here. Number 9792 Magnolia, no wait list. So it means there was no wait list it came from. It was a direct transfer to that person.
No, I think she's mentioning, the guy in Black Beach says, I'm leaving town, I'm taking my boat, I'm gone.
Yeah.
There's nobody else on Black Beach that wants it, okay? I think you would probably put an entry and say, all right, Black, it's gone.
It would go, so in town moorings, it would be just listed as a open permit.
That's correct.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, so help me with the language.
Yeah.
So what would the transaction be? What would that say?
Well, at the end of the year, if it's open and not filled, which is very rare.
Right.
It would just be listed on, I'll use, say
But again-
it was 713 or something like that. It would list 713 open permit.
Okay.
But we
So-
could have, if someone had a mooring in the middle of the season that they said, I no longer need my mooring, feel free to, you know, offer it to the change list or the wait list, whichever it might be. Yeah. We could have a line in here that identifies that mooring and the assignment type is release.
Yeah.
And then once you go through whatever process it is, whether it's wait list or change list.
Yeah.
You'll have another line with that same mooring.
Yes.
That'll say assignment type, you know, wait list.
See, that's all I'm looking for. Andy, it's a transaction. Think of it like a checking account. Think of a mooring as a checking account. You have your debits, your credits, your withdrawals, your deposits, you're tracking it all. And understandably, we don't have that big of a harbor. There aren't a lot of transactions, but you want to be able to see everything that happened to that one checking account, that mooring, okay?
Sure.
So for anytime something happens, you know, you got to be able to have multiple entries per mooring within a year, right?
Yeah, it just wouldn't be, organized by mooring. It would be, it's just listing every transaction,
Okay.
any change. Yeah.
That's what a transaction.
I mean, that's consistent with what Brian.
That's my understanding.
That's what currently happens. I think the problem is we kind of get more lost in what ifs here. I think we're covering the bases right now. You get the mooring, the transaction, it's a reassignment, which is a transaction. If it does go back on the list, or not on the list, but if it's an open permit at the end of the year, 100% I agree. It should be listed here as an open permit. And then next year, if it gets reassigned, it would be, you'd have the same thing, say it was, say 713, reassigned to this person's date.
But I think the addition of the month and the date helps you achieve that,
Oh, no, I agree about the month
right?
and date.
It's been impossible to see that because you've only been tracking the year or posting it. The data, Brian has all the data. I trust that the data is there. But without posting it, you can't see more than one entry per mooring per year. And you should be able to.
Yeah, I
But
definitely
it's
do.
realistically, when was the last time that happened?
The reason it's important, the reason it is important is because when someone has a mooring taken away, their name disappears from the list, okay? And they want to be able to understand why that happened. I have a neighbor who lost his mooring and he's still disputing whether or not, you know, how that happened. He's trying to understand how that happened because there was a death in the family and some stuff happened and communication was unclear to him, okay? But his name, if I went back, you know, and looked 3 years on this type of report here, I wouldn't I wouldn't see where his name fell off.
Yeah, but even if his name falls off, it's not gonna explain to you the reason why.
If it's a proper transaction list with the actual date of every change, it would, there'd be traceability, what happened.
Wouldn't give you the why. Is it non-payment? Is
It
it,
would say revoked,
right?
revocation or something,
Yeah.
or released, or.
Right. But there
Which
would
is, we
be
can
an
do
entry.
that.
There would be an entry.
We can do that. I think that's consistent with what Brian had to say was, any change basically
Any
would
change
constitute.
has to have its own line.
Okay. May I-
Any change has its own line item and it's clear, and that could happen within a season. I'm good.
Just for the record.
Okay, may I have,
Ann's got a comment here.
Ann's tired.
I've got several comments. One, the grandparent to grandchild is not a legal transaction. Under the DEP regulations, it can go to a spouse, it can go to a sibling, it can go to a child. It cannot go grandparent to grandchild.
I don't think it can even go to a sibling, can it?
I don't,
No,
yeah.
can't go
It's only parent to child and spouse.
Yeah, okay, maybe not even sibling, but certainly not grandparent. The other is that the list that you provided us had an explanation of provided proof of partnered mooring. Mooring permits are issued to a person, not to a boat. And if you allow that partner stuff to go, we will never, ever have an inside mooring that's ever free again. Because
Yeah, it's
anybody who
not-
sells a boat is going to retain 2% ownership. And then they'll take in another partner when they sell the boat again. So
That is not, it's not allowed. It's not allowed anymore. We talked about this one with Brian. Remember?
it was never allowed. It should never have been allowed.
It should,
has
it
been
should
allowed.
never have been, but it was, I think, and this one was, so those were, I forget what Brian had to say about this one. This is well, this is
I would like to, on transfers from the change list or the waiting list, I would like to see the number on the change list or the waiting list. Because sometimes Charles is Chuck and sometimes Charles is Charlie and sometimes it's Chaz. And we've had a lot of ruckus about matching names. If you match the number on the waiting list, then you know exactly what you're talking about.
Why isn't the name associated with the how the boat is registered?
The name is just, people use different names, different variants on their name.
Well, I'm
And
sorry, I don't know why we're doing that, because like when I have my boat, I have to, the documentation I submit to my marina has to match the registration on the boat.
That's fine, but
not
the
on the
waiting list, the waiting
put
list
anything
doesn't,
But when,
the waiting lists don't, in fact, always match. And if we just had the number on the waiting list as a part of the transaction log, we would be a big step forward.
Because it has come up that a woman gets on the waiting list and she gets married and her name changes, but her name on the waiting list is still her maiden name.
Yep.
Has come up.
Yep.
And I think that's what Ann's referring to. Stuff,
Oh,
things like that.
so Ann, your suggestion is to add
The position on the waiting list to the transaction.
At the time of the transaction, because of course, people's numbers on the rating list
They
change.
went on the waiting
Well,
list.
their number never changes. So once you get your assigned, once you go on the wait list, that's your number the whole time you're on the wait list.
I think Ann is suggesting the rank.
No, I agree, and I actually.
The number is what I mean.
Yeah, no,
Wait list number.
I think that's, I don't have an issue with that at all.
Okay.
Okay, so that applies to wait lists, that applies to the change list.
Yeah, so if it comes from the wait list and it's being reassigned, you can say,
Yep.
you can say from wait list and what the number was.
The
other, okay, sorry. I've
And
done
before you-
grandparents.
And just before you move on from that, so Andy, on the wait list, on the change list,
Yep.
it's serial number and current location.
That's
Is serial number, yeah, so is serial number the same number that Like a wait list number?
It's not their wait list number, but yeah, so it's.
Yeah.
Associated to that change.
So that would remain tied to that same vessel? Okay,
Yeah.
so we could add,
Yeah, it's like, so if you went downstairs and you looked at the change list, that's what that number is. If you looked at the wait list downstairs, that's what it is. Or on the town website.
add wait list / change list number.
I mean, all that information's there, so like, even if.
It's not a new field, it's a field that exists.
It's a field that exists, but like,
All right.
I mean, I don't mind doing that on the assignment transaction, because it's so few in between. But like I said before, all this information already exists on the town website or downstairs. And if you still have a further question, then you come see, you'll need mine. So I mean, it's pretty transparent as you can be.
Yeah, I saw it.
I'd like to make it just pretty transparent. I'd like to make it as transparent as it possibly can be.
I think that's.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So like I have no issue putting that number with it, and I actually agree with you. It's a good way to track it. I don't have an issue with that.
Okay. And I think you had another.
No, I was going back to provided proof of partnered mooring, which. But that's not going to happen ever again.
Well, that would be another assignment type, which I know.
No, it's not an illegal. It's not a legal
I know it's
assignment.
not legal. So in other words, what would you put in assignment type? If
Well,
a partner?
the problem is if somebody gets a mooring and two people on the boat, what happens?
So this is my thing. So like, we're talking about this ain't gonna happen again. Well, technically
It could.
speaking, Jeff, you own the mooring. Like I say, hey, listen, I have a boat, you got rid of yours. Why don't we go halves in this boat?
Right.
But I'm keeping it on your mooring.
That's what's been happening.
That's what's been happening. There's nothing legally we can actually do.
Because they're both names are on the title.
Right. Names are on the.
No, only one name is on the mooring.
Right.
Well, we're not
Right,
arguing.
but if the mooring holder is on the registration of the boat, there's nothing you can do about it.
That's fine, but eventually that person is going to die.
Well,
We're all gonna die, but I mean,
No, what I'm saying is that if you can take on a partner over and over again, and every partner gets equal shares, you have a situation where there's a boat that's in the harbor for decades, centuries.
State does not allow it.
And the state does not allow that.
This one wasn't somebody newly partnered on a mooring. This was someone who had a partnership on a mooring for quite some time ago. And
he didn't have a partnership on the mooring. He had a partnership on the boat.
Yeah.
No, on the mooring. And Brian went back to them and said, if you can provide me proof of the documentation of the permit that has both of your names on it from back then, that came from the town, I will correct it in the system, and they did.
Yeah, but that's a one-off. That's never gonna happen.
Right. This was a very unique.
but the other situation is still possible.
Oh, yes, but like,
Yeah.
you just gotta keep in mind, the person that has the mooring, so say it's Jeff. If Jeff dies, it's not like I get the mooring.
Right.
No,
It's
but
either-
if I get rid of my boat
Yeah,
and I say, hey, Andy, you want a mooring? Put my name on your boat.
Oh, great, and take on all the liability, and good luck with that. Good.
But it happens all the time.
I know.
It does happen all the
I know.
time, and people sell a boat with keeping a 1 or 2% ownership, so that the mooring goes with the boat, and that is strictly illegal.
but my hands are tied as far as doing any enforcement on it, because technically both names are listed on the title. And that's what they have to provide me.
No.
But if
The
you-
title, the mooring belongs to a person. It doesn't belong to a boat. It has nothing to do with the title of the
correct.
boat.
Yeah.
Ann's correct. In the hypothetical scenario you just said.
Yeah.
If something happened to Jeff and he didn't,
But if I'm still alive, I can still
Correct.
pay for that mooring. Both my name and Andy's name are
Correct.
on that boat, and it's legal.
correct.
That's
But
right.
Once you
If you
go.
guys get rid of me, That's it.
But once you
Yeah, I agree.
go,
Nothing you can do about
Nancy
that
has
situation.
no right.
Playing a lot of
Right. No, I understand that, but that scenario does happen here all the time.
Not a
I believe it.
hypothetical,
Right,
Brian, it happens.
But it's,
right. But to, there's a confusion here because of what's on this draft list. This is not a scenario, this.
I
and you would
understand
have
that's
no
a
right to the
separate,
mooring
right, no.
in that scenario.
It's still your mooring.
It's
You haven't
still
been out
my
on a freight
mooring,
mooring
I
in 20
might
years.
not necessarily be using it.
No,
I'm just paying for the mooring, Andy's paying me,
Yes.
and he's using
But that's not
technically his boat on my mooring.
season tickets is what the amount.
So it's not something we have any way of.
Right, I'm just saying that that's possibility is always.
no, and you wouldn't even know.
But when you
I
take a
know.
look at, then.
I know
that
it.
But you know who's going out to
There has
that
no
boat.
right to that mooring.
Yeah,
Right,
but like I know who's.
unless me and Andy get married and then.
Listen, one's enough. I mean, we've had a divorce where in the divorce proceedings, they've negotiated, exchanging the mooring from one spouse to another. And then after the divorce is finalized, they've come to us to take over and we've said, no, we cannot do that. That's against the law. So, I mean, we enforce the transfer
Well, you can.
mooring.
No, listen, I totally understand it. What I guess the point I'm trying to make is there are always gonna be these variables that you can't control.
Right.
And that's all there is to it. You can put whatever you want on paper.
We can watch over this, we can be just diligent as we can, but we can't stop it. Okay, if someone wants to share their mooring with Andy, because apparently he's a very giving guy, all right, that's gonna happen.
I think we're off on a
But
little
we're
bit
all-
of a tangent.
not that-
There will be
So-
situations.
Can we just like pull together what we agreed to as far as, I think there were a couple of changes.
Yeah, so
Tony, that you wrote down.
include, releasing of a mooring as a transaction type. Make sure that we're recording, every change. So even if it's two separate items. And then adding the wait list and or change list number to that detail. And day and month. Yeah, that's already, we're gonna do that.
Yeah, that's in there already.
Okay. Could I suggest that if one of the reasons for giving up a mooring is revoked, it should be more specific than just revoked? Revoked for non-payment, revoked for
No, I can't
malfeasance.
put that publicly on a list like that. I think, I don't think, we could do it, but I would.
Yeah,
Really hesitant about doing it.
I wouldn't go
If
down
it's
that road.
revoked, it's revoked. There's no need for anybody else.
That's okay. I disagree strongly.
Again, this should be a list that summarizes all transactions and the types of those transactions. If there's more information that somebody wants, they reach out to the harbor master office to get that data.
Right.
The other thing about the revoke situation is if somebody appeals, if the harbor master makes a decision and somebody appeals it, that could be turned over, technically. So the reason it was revoked may change. And I don't think we want to get into putting that out in public, whatever that reason is.
No, you don't need,
That's guaranteed 30.
yeah, you don't need that.
Right.
All right, so we have 4 wait lists and 2 regular lists. The different wait lists that you listed, and then you've got the mooring list and the transaction list. And then the other 4 are wait lists.
Yep.
And the
I
transaction
think we
list
got that
has
one.
been presented with the 2 modifications
So,
versus number.
one last question, this assignment date, it looks as though from this point on, we're adding day and month, but there's nothing we can do for the other things that were done this current season. The season's only 4 months old or so. Is there any way of getting the dates for these 2026 transactions? Were there that many changes this year, or can we get good data published on this
I
transaction?
should try to go back and see if I can get the exact dates.
Give it your best shot.
I can do months, but I don't know if I'll be able to.
Okay, whatever you can, I think it would be helpful. Thank you.
Are we ready, Mr. Delaney?
Well, so we need to amend this, right? Or
You could say,
all right, let me start and you can
Fill in.
move to approve the format of the mooring assignment transaction report as presented and directed the master's office to post or support annually and updated as necessary. And then amended to include the release of mooring, add change list
Number.
or all, no, more than the change list, right?
Wait list.
Wait list number.
Wait list. The serial number, right? Is that what you said?
yeah, well, let me give you an easier motion.
Yeah, why don't you just give me
We'll
something?
just watch this and do it again.
I move to approve the format of the mooring assignment transaction report as presented. And with the discussed amendments regarding release of mooring as a transaction type and adding the wait list / change list numbers. And direct the harbor master's office to post this report annually and update it as necessary.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion?
No.
Mr. Delaney,
Yes.
Mr. Solacey,
Yes, it's.
Ms. Harrison,
No,
Ms. Bellata,
Yes.
and Mr. Round says yes. Okay. All right, that's the end of Harbor for this meeting.
Guys, have a great night.
Okay, thanks very much, Angie.
And I didn't realize that you two were in a committee with it.
Well, he hasn't proposed yet, but.
Can't afford the ring.
Okay, liaison updates. Jeff, you got anything?
I don't have I mean, we've heard from the planning board, they did have a public hearing on One Deer Hill. And they approved that, contingent on a stormwater plan from the DPW. We've heard enough of harbor stuff. And Essex Tech, we're just gonna be looking at our emissions policy again for the year and starting to work on our budget, so. That's about it.
Good. Brian?
Not much. The big item at the Concom is obviously SLD, and that's, they're discussing peer review and all that, so that's gonna wind its way to its natural conclusion. Parks and Rec met, nothing substantial. They did, your suggestion last meeting about the adult,
Yeah, I think that's gonna be, I did see Cheryl in the hall or something last week. I don't think it's gonna fly, but it's gonna be on their agenda.
we looked at it.
Oh, they did?
We discussed it. They discussed it, I listened. And the thoughts of sometimes taking something for free costs way too much money. And there was, because that $20,000 or $30,000 grant would still require the town to throw in money, and where they're gonna put it.
Yeah.
Okay, it's gonna, we'll wait for the pickleball court raise to wind down and then revisit it, but at that point, no, there was the unanimous kind of thing.
Okay.
And that was about it.
Okay, good. Ann? Any news?
nothing,
Nothing.
nothing.
All right, Kathy?
We're supposed to have a facilities meeting, last week, but it got canceled, so we're gonna meet this coming Wednesday. And Bike and Pet is gonna meet this coming Wednesday, and downtown improvement not till September, so I got nothing either.
Okay. My end of things, Historic District Commission met last week. They had met previously with the planning board with regard to demo delay initiative. And there was a general consensus, yes, let's take a look at it. And they are sending out an RFP for a couple of consultants looking for expressions of interest to kind of help work through the review of a demo delay in the interest here in town. And that consultant would deal with maybe a forum or two and
That was discussed
FAQs
like 20 years ago too.
It was discussed, I think, 2011 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that didn't go
Planning
anywhere.
board shut it down, as I recall.
But I think they're working through that, and that may targeting perhaps the annual town meeting for some sort of a motion to that event, but we'll see where that goes. The library, they've had their Saturday openings now all throughout the summer, and they've had an average of 62 people per day. That's pretty good compared with what they get on a regular day, which is maybe, I think, 2 or 3 times that, but to have that on a Saturday is that's been their average number of visits that they get Saturday, just 10 to 1. It's not even open the whole day. And the Council on Aging, Mary Minor is now exploring expanding some programs over at the hall, at the church hall, with some activities on Wednesday. Right now, the Friends meet on Monday, but she wants to expand some of her activities. I'm not sure which ones, but is looking for more time to accommodate those initiatives. And DPW, they were here, they talked, there's no noise other than what you're aware of. They did pave Newport Park. They finished the blasting, they planned everything out, it's paved. All they need to do is put on the lines for the dog walkers to have a place to park. So that's it, I think, for liaison. Consent agenda. We're going with that.
Can we pull out the carnival I had some questions on that.
Okay. That's C.
Okay,
Okay.
so I move that the board approve the consent agenda with the exception of item C, the special events permit.
Second.
Jeff?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Okay, Kathy?
Yes.
And John, yes. Okay,
So
the carnival
well, I'm
one,
just confused about a couple things. It said that the event is not gonna require lighting, yet it's going until 9 or 10 o'clock, so I don't remember last year's event. I normally go during the day and not night, so I had some questions.
Going through 9 o'clock.
Yeah, there's always a lady.
yeah, the place is,
I don't know if it's
is that a typo?
what kind of lighting.
Well, it just said, I mean, I'm just looking at the application. And they originally checked yes, they crossed it out and checked no, does not require lights.
Is that special kind of lights?
I don't know if
I'm
it's
just-
the portable lighting that.
Yeah, they always have them out.
Hi,
Third
Oh, yeah,
base.
we have the applicant right there. Amy.
Hi,
Okay,
guys.
Amy, yes?
Hi. Sorry. So the carnival brings their own lighting, and then if you look at like the aerial views of it at night, all the rides provide significant lighting. So no lighting is needed from the town. It's all what
That's
is.
the interpretation.
The interpretation that the town doesn't require, okay.
Yes.
Sorry, okay. And then, I don't remember this from last year, but it probably was there, but it sounded like there was a statement in here about, hours of operation are subject to change at any time. Hours may also be extended up to an hour if the event remains well attended close to original closing time. So it sounds like if it says the operating hours are only gonna be till 9, but they can just stay open till 10 because they feel like it.
I'm happy to speak with them and tell them that we have to have a closing time at the listed hours if you all would like that to be the hours.
Well, do you need it open till 10 or what?
No, I mean, I guess he just wanted to cover it. Like if it's a busy carnival and there's still kids and rides and all the things. I think he was just covering himself that we would be able to stay open a little late if there was, still a bustling carnival going on.
So what?
So we can alter it to be the later time if needed.
It looked like it
Okay,
was a
so-
smaller event because there's some things that were not happening, so I'm just wondering why we still
So I
need to
think
be.
happening would be
The actual carnival.
So, I mean, normally it's 9 PM both Friday and Saturday, correct?
Correct. So this is my first year taking over the event.
Okay,
So I do not have the contract from last year. So I don't know that it's not different from last year. I'm just taking, your word for it. If you're saying that last year it did not have language that said that if it was busy, they'd stay an additional hour.
I just don't recall.
I don't recall
I
that. It was just a
and
fix.
Just out of respect for the neighbors in the area, I mean, do we really want the?
I mean, I
everything
think
going
it's a
till
con,
10
I mean, it's a
o'clock?
con, once a year, like, that's a.
I would say that's my opinion is, as Jeff points out, it's a community event. All right, the people that are hanging around are gonna be the kids that either coming out after a football game, maybe coming after the football game on a Friday night. It's all weather
Carol's
dependent as
not-
well, and if this is gonna put money in the Booster's pocket, then I don't have a problem with that.
Mhm. I don't have a
Cheryl's
strong
not on.
opinion on that. So, that it can close earlier if you so desire,
Whether when they.
depending upon weather and other things.
Yeah, they remember the first year they had it.
That is,
Yeah,
There was
rain.
rain.
the weather was terrible. I recall. So this is 10 PM, both evenings there. Sunday, it just says,
Says 9 PM.
9
I
PM with the
I wouldn't put 10 PM here, because then they'll keep it open until 11.
Yeah, 9 PM with the it's like a bunch of kids are
I
lined
guess I
up.
just want to know who's making that decision. Is it the town, or we're letting the carnival just make that decision on their own? That doesn't seem good.
no, if it's 10 PM, the town is making the decision. You're open till 10. And then you shut
That's not
down.
what it says.
No, it says 9.
9 PM with the option, if they're.
Just
if it's
make it till
relative to-
10.
Just make it 10.
I'll make an amendment to 10 o'clock and remove the extra hour clause.
Right. I just see in the hours, Sunday is blank.
Sunday is 12 to 5 PM.
Okay, all right,
So how can we amend something that they already signed? So do you have to go back and change that, Amy? I mean, this is, somebody signed this without us approving the event, so I'm just trying to
Sorry,
understand.
this is the way that it has happened. I checked with Emily, like I followed everything she did in the past. So I simply did exactly what we did in the past. So if I did something incorrect, I'm sorry. I just literally followed suit to what was done the past 3 previous years.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I mean,
If you're comfortable with it potentially being open till 10,
yeah,
We'll leave
then
it
just
at 9.
leave it the way it is.
This is the way it is, and then if there's a crowd, but it's a hard end not at 10 o'clock.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and if there isn't a crowd, it's gonna close at 9.
All right, and then just one other question on the application. There was something here in the application about, other permits. It says, please note that all components of the event are subject to approval by the Board of Selectmen's office and may also require approval by other town agencies. I just want to make sure that we have a process in place now that we're not advertising events that have not already been approved by this board, because it's been happening for not just this event, but other events. So, do you feel we have a good process in place now so that it doesn't happen again? Or would you consider changing the event application so that it clearly states, don't advertise this until it's been approved?
I think it should state that in the application. However, sometimes they get advertised before
Understand, I mean,
an application is even filled out, so it's hard to stop it completely, but.
understand. But I think
yeah,
there's
it makes sense
confusion,
to include
and
in
that
there.
way, because, she's new to this, she's doing a great job setting everything up and just following what the procedures have been, but we have had issues about events getting publicized before they're approved, and if we can clarify the document, that might help.
I very much apologize that I posted that save the date a few weeks ago.
No, it's okay, Amy. I'm just, like I said, I'm not bringing up the issue to slap your hand. there's been a pattern.
I'm the one that told her last week that I didn't see, they were gonna advertise for volunteers. That's the biggest problem they have, is volunteers. That was the advertising that was.
So, I mean, what do we learn, right? So if the event is gonna happen every October, right? And we know we have to advertise for volunteers by, what, August? Then maybe we need to be reviewing this application in July, right?
I definitely think going forward, that's the right thing for this event. And anyone that I hand it off to, I will definitely share that with.
Okay.
The timeline I was given was to not hand in the form until July, but I think you're absolutely right because we have to start advertising sooner than that.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. No, thank you. And like I said, it's not unique to this event, so please don't, don't take it the wrong way. I just want to make sure we're clear that we have a job to do and approve this stuff.
All right, so what's changed here? The end times, 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock.
No, I think Tony was proposing, just leave it.
Oh, just leave it. Oh, yeah, but I
But we are
mean,
clear that it can go until 10.
but we haven't done anything with a vote on the consent agenda at this point.
We did, we took this out of the consent.
Yeah, we did.
So now we have to vote on.
No, we have to vote on this.
That's the point I'm making. Okay, and I would add the Sunday 5 p.m. thing, because Sunday says nothing.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
So, we add this to this
So I'll
consent
just
agenda
have
number
a
2.
separate motion. I move that the board approve the special events permit for the Manchester Essex Athletic Boosters Carnival.
Further discussion? Okay. Jeff?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
And John, yes. Okay, good.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Tony, you're the last chapter.
As far as trash and recycling process goes, we've had 912 orders submitted as of 4:45 today, so that's a very good response. We have we've put our order in for the trash barrels as well. We had to do some estimating based on what we expected for folks to put in for orders. And we got our grant approved by the state, so we'll be getting around $74,000 towards the cost of the 35-gallon trash bins. And we're hoping for that first week of September for them to be delivered to the town. And then it'll be a week or so to distribute to households.
Are these all the barrels? So you had to put in the order. I mean,
Today.
with regard, for the 65 and the 90s?
If you wanted anything other than the standard default, you had to put your order in by the end of the day today.
Okay, so you've ordered the 35s, the 65s, and the 90s.
We've ordered everything. Yeah, we ordered everything.
How much does this cost?
I'll get back to you on the total cost.
Just so we're getting 72 back, but I don't know what
It's, I think it's close to 200,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's distributing? You said yes. Who is once the barrels show up in town, who's distributing the barrels?
The Nakasela, the company that we're getting, subcontractor.
Because I mean, I've seen them traveling all through Beverly.
That's gonna be an exciting time.
Didn't I see Beverly was picking up their own barrels?
But they're collecting.
Exchanging.
Oh, exchange.
Exchanging
The high
the old
school.
barrels.
It's a very expensive exchange, so
So that's gonna be the next big challenge is gonna be ensuring that people get the barrels that they selected. And then making any necessary changes that we need to do, providing for an area for people to drop off their old barrels. We still need to talk, the select board, about the housing authority. And large bulk items, whether or not we want to subsidize the cost of that. We're working on the unique properties. Currently, we've had a few communication with different parties so far with some of the unique properties of condos and large apartment buildings. We have more to do. But we're making progress.
Target date?
For distribution of the barrel.
Yeah, and therefore pickup using the new technique.
I'm hesitant to put out a specific date, but I would say the week of the 14th.
Okay.
Of September, so. But that's if we get the barrels on schedule. We received a letter from some of the residents on Forster Road regarding their water line. I need to respond to them in writing. They're looking for the town to assist in the replacement of the service line of the water line on Forster Road as part of the Bennett Street project. It's not an urgency in the sense that we're going out to bid for the Bennett Street project tomorrow. We're still in the design phase. We don't have funding for the Bennett Street project yet.
Isn't that a private line?
Yes, yes, it is. So I've talked with Chuck about what options we could potentially offer them as far as coordinating with our contractor or as far as how they would pay for that and what type of options they could consider. In some one-on-one conversations with some of the residents there, I've explained to them that it's not public as of now. And for us to accept that as public, we would want it to be rebuilt up to our spec.
But we'd have to adopt the road to do that, right? Or no? just
No,
the
not
line?
necessarily, not necessarily. We could have an easement on their property with our utility in it.
Yeah, right.
Lots of private roads have public water.
Yeah, you're right. That's cool.
Yeah.
We've made a significant amount of progress on union contract negotiations. We have tentative agreement with the DPW and the clerical union, meeting with the fire department later this week. We also have a finance committee meeting Thursday night this week. And I don't know if you mentioned the facility planning committee meeting Wednesday night as well. The Council on Aging is at Tux Point on Wednesday at 12:30 for their monthly luncheon. I'll stop there unless you have any other questions for me.
No, okay. Good. Does anybody have any questions?
I just want to say I've walked in the town hall a couple times on Tony. And the amount of work that's gone into these barrels. And we have to be prepared, and I think the town should be prepared that it's not going to be seamless.
There'll be some bumps in the road.
A lot of bumps in the road, and a lot of people are going to be upset. And I think that I just want to make something where we appreciate what he's doing.
Yeah.
And the amount of work, and you're the front line, but I think that maybe get Tiffany to put a notice out at some point saying that we understand and that there are going to be some, not hardships, but some issues, and please bear with us.
Well, I'm sure Tony has been sharing with us all of the trial.
Yeah,
I would be around.
He's going through, everybody's got a story. And challenges, I do think that there will be challenges. Right now, I think things they're okay. Once the barrels go out, when the barrels go out, that'll be the next big deal. How come I didn't get what I ordered? And that's gonna be a problem. And then the first pickup is this the way this works? Oh, geez, I will see. but all to come.
I appreciate the comment, but I have to mention that it's more than just me. Chuck,
Oh, yeah.
Ruth,
Yeah.
Tiffany,
Yeah.
I haven't watched it on them.
Ruth's
Oh, she's
phone
front-
has been
she's
going.
frontline. She is front.
No, she's certainly dealing with the most of the communication. She does an excellent job. Obviously, the rest of the team does as well.
So I was remiss in not mentioning the entire group.
That's okay. I did that for you.
It was a collective.
Thank you,
Free
thank you.
policy with them, right? I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. You and your pen have to stick around for a while.
Aye.
Aye,
Thank you,
Ann.
Ann.
Safe travels.
Yep.
Lovely. 65 degrees and raining.
Oh, my goodness. Not what you signed up for.
It's pretty nice anyway.
Okay.
Have fun.
Yep.